It's very intimidating because you sit down in a circle and everybody's in a circle and there's candles and it's all dark and you can hear the jungle out there in the darkness. You kneel in front of the shaman and he's got the feathers and he's smoking a cigarette. And so he draws the cigarette and he blesses the drink with the smoke and he says a prayer over the drink and the smoke flows over the liquid and then he gives it to you and you drink. As soon as I drank, I was very aware of that was a one-way door. I had just made a decision that I couldn't take back. You're listening to the throbbing, insects throbbing and the frogs throbbing and all that whoosh, 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 and all of a sudden you just feel it start moving under your skin. And all of the sound of the jungle starts moving under your skin. And when it takes you, I dematerialized. I started from a consciousness with no ability to speak. I stopped thinking in words. We think in words. We don't realize we do, but we actually think in words. I stopped thinking in words and...
Paul Rosolie, welcome back,
man?
Sir.
Good to be back.
It's great to have you back, man. And I got to say, seeing you finally get the respect you have long deserved to work on the only thing you've ever worked on in your adult life has been beautiful to watch over the past, I guess, like 14, 15 months since you were last here. And it is so well deserved, man.
It's been wild. And it started with you, man. It started not right here, but on this show. Beautiful new spot, by the way. I love it.
Thank you. And by the way, can you move a little this way by where that sticker is? There you go. But that whole weekend when Ryan brought you with him to
he was like, we're going to Jersey.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Like last minute, shows up, and he's like, hey, I hope you don't mind. I got my friend Paul here. I'm like, Paul Rosolie? He's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then... to see you, I could not figure out how you had not been on every podcast in the world.
And now I'm thinking, and I think you were the first podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were the first podcast I ever went on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely never. I think anything else had ever been like a Zoom interview or something like that. Like I'd never actually physically gone and sat with somebody in a room and done a podcast before, ever.
That was crazy. I mean, because I was talking to you for about 15 minutes when we got there at Chicky and Pete's, and I'm like, how the f***? This makes no sense.
Wait, also, yeah. No, because I came with Ryan, right? We came with Ryan. Mm-hmm. We did Ryan, and then I came back.
You came back,
and then I came back. That's what it was. I keep in my memory. I merged those 2 days, and I'm like, oh, we just did both.
Yeah. I mean, I was glad we waited too because I wanted to get a chance to look at some more Amazon stuff before you came in because there's just so much there. I mean, when we recorded last time, it was like. We could have gone all day with that, but there's just remember story feeling like
dry mouthed and just dead brained and being like, dude, I want to tell him so many more things. I was like,
but anyway, let's get right into it. You were in Africa recently with VETPAW.
Oh yeah. What
are you doing with them these days? And can you tell people out there who haven't seen Ryan's episode with me what VETPAW does? So
VETPAW is this incredible organization of post 9/11 veterans who are working to protect endangered elephants, black rhinos, white rhinos, all this incredible African wildlife. And the founder of VETPAW, Ryan Tate, called me up one day. Out of the blue, I did not know him. He just called me up one day and was like, yo, man, first of all, we're friends. Second of all, you're coming to Africa. And I was like, really? He's just like, get on a plane. And it took him a while of convincing. I was in the Amazon when he called me. And it was another year and a half before I was able to actually go. But man, when I stepped foot in Africa for the first time, I remember I got out they took me and it was like by the time we got there and got onto the reserve and then started driving and like Ryan and Trevor took me out onto the reserve and we get out there and it's like this golden grass and there's just a fucking rhino standing there. Like I never thought I was going to see a rhino with my real eyes in real life. Holy shit.
And you had spent a lot of time in India with the elephants, but you hadn't spent time with rhinos.
Yeah. And whether it's a rhino or whether it's a, obscure species of tree snake, I get this thing when I see wildlife, like where it's just like you've seen it in a book, you've seen it in a documentary, and then it's there. It's really there. And it's such an unnegotiably amazing thing. Like a rhino. We're so close to losing rhinos. How many people that you know have seen a rhino? Like if you go out on the street right now and just like start asking people, how many people, like, have you seen a rhino? Like no one's seen a rhino.
Unless they've been to a zoo.
Yeah.
And some zoos don't even have them.
And zoos don't count. They don't. They don't. That's true. If you're in the wild and to be in the wild and to see a grizzly bear is not seeing a grizzly bear at the zoo.
Oh, no.
No. That's like seeing a person that's been kept in a tiny cage their entire life and force fed, like overfed and just like sat, or it's like not like a real strong, they haven't built up that. But VETPAW, what they're doing changed the way that I viewed conservation. Because when I remember when I was in college and I was thinking, I mean, environmental college just teaches you, we're polluting the planet. Everything's dying. We have to be stressed and worried. But then when you go out into the world, and right now there's so many incredible organizations doing amazing work. When I saw the guys at VETPAW, they were like, yeah, see that rhino? And the rhino didn't run away. Right. I mean, I know wild animals. You see a wild animal, it runs. These rhinos are just eating. And you're like, yeah, these are safe. These rhinos are safe. They've never known danger. I was like, whoa.
Because they're protecting them.
Because they're protecting them.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And it's one of the greatest things ever. That first phone call from Ryan was actually a life-changing phone call. I always tell people, pick up the phone.
Yes.
I always have this argument with people. I see people, they get a call from a number they don't know, and they put the phone in their pocket. I'm like, pick up the phone. You don't know who it could be.
I have been picking up more of those recently because I get so many. It's like every call is from a number you don't know. And usually it's like, this is Jim with the fire department in Jersey, and you got to hang up. But I thought about that because you had talked to me about that with some of the media opportunities you were able to get over the years strictly because you're like, I don't want to do it. Let me answer it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I mean, I could do it'd be a fun little essay of all the times that I've picked up the phone, and it's been an amazing opportunity. Yeah, no. I mean, then of course, what if I always tell my friends, I'm like, what if I got in a car accident and my cell phone fell, off a cliff, and I asked the next stranger for their cell phone, and I'm calling you, like, pick up your phone.
Right.
So I'm just like, when my phone rings, I'm just like, maybe this is the one. This is the phone call.
Imagine the one time you don't pick it up, it's like Joe Rogan. You're like, I missed him.
And he goes, never mind. And just throw it up.
Yeah. And that was cool because I know you're such a prime topic that would be of interest to him. So to see him put support behind you long before he ever went on his podcast was also pretty cool.
Yeah.
But over in Africa, obviously VETPAW has done a ton of work in stopping the poaching. I mean, we've laid it out. When they got there in 2013, when Ryan started it, there were around 15,000 white rhinos left, which was pretty close to being able to be declared extinct because their gestation periods would have been too long.
They're critically endangered, yeah.
And now they're up to near 30,000 as a result of a lot of their protection. But VETPAW, it's not like they protect every spot in Africa. So outside of like the places where they are, which some of them they can't talk about, others like Kruger, they can say they're there. But outside of there, like what has happened? What's the latest with poaching in maybe the middle of the continent? Is it still pretty heavy at the moment?
The middle of the continent, I actually can't speak to in an educated way because the Congo is so insane that, just to go to the Congo, just to go as a tourist, is not an easy undertaking. Just to go to Virunga. The closest I have to experience with the Congo is that I can't remember his name, but the guy who was in charge of Virunga National Park, he came to the Explorers Club and gave a talk, and halfway through his talk, he actually it was like a movie scene. Somebody came, whispered in his ear, and he was like, he's like, guys, I got to go get on a flight. He's like, one of my rangers just got killed. And it's like, that is an all-out war zone. He literally tried to come and give one talk in New York. He tried to educate people, talk a little bit, probably get some funding. And he was just like, I got to go. Middle of the talk, he was just like, I'm out. And he himself has been shot. He's lived through assassination attempts. Virunga is, from what I understand it's basically an island of jungle surrounded by millions and millions and millions of poor people that all want firewood, that all need bushmeat, that all want to take that forest. And then there's rebel groups that want to assassinate the gorillas because they figure if they assassinate the gorillas, then the conservationists will stop caring about the forest because this is the last place these gorillas exist. And so it's the worst case scenario. And they're doing this incredible job of defending this place against the tide of humanity that wants everything from this jungle.
Well, it's foreign governments too funding it, which is a huge problem. And then you have literally sometimes actual terrorists doing the work on the ground, which is a great misconception that people like me had about this until Ryan explained it all to me. But then I do have a friend who's in, we'll just say he's on like the intel side within parts of the U.S. government. I'll leave it at that. But he was telling me all about it because one of the things he does is track ISIS and Boko Haram He was telling me all about their involvement in Africa with poaching. And how real it is. He's like, no, they're literally they're not just funding it. They're not just taking funds to then fund people on the ground to do it. They're literally doing it themselves sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and again, you have to consider that rhino horn and elephant tusk is now worth more than gold.
And a rhino horn's worthless as far as what it can be. It can't be used for anything.
A rhino horn is worthless scientifically speaking.
Yes, that's what I mean.
Yes, if you're using your imagination and you believe it's going to cure your whatever's ailing you. But it's just it's amazing how that has persisted, though, that's still a problem. Like, you think that after 20 years of education, 20 years of anti-poaching, it just hasn't stopped. The only thing I can think of that I thought was very interesting was that we've seen a huge decrease in the amount of people that are demanding shark fin soup. And so I remember seeing 10 years ago that there's a lot coming out about shark finning, where they would catch the sharks, cut the fins off, and throw the entire animal back in the ocean. And there was just these heartbreaking photos of where it would be like this entire rooftop covered in shark fins, tens of thousands of shark fins, and that was tens of thousands of sharks. And I know that they had Yao Ming working as, right? That's the basketball player. Yao Ming. Yeah. They had him working on like an education campaign to explain to people, you don't need shark fin soup.
Oh, that's cool.
Gordon Ramsay did a beautiful piece where he went and he did the whole thing. He went and he ate shark fin soup, which he got criticized for, but he wanted to understand. He was like, is this really delicious? And he was like, no. He's like, I could do this with any other type of fish. Then he went around and interviewed people who were eating shark fin soup in the restaurant. And he was like, what's the deal? And they're like, oh, this was always, like traditionally this was what we did when we were celebrating. Okay. And then he would, then he tricked people with shark fin soup, where he'd be like, try my shark fin soup. And then they were like, oh, it's delicious. And he'd be like, it's not even shark fin soup. And so he did it from every single angle. And what he came to at the end was, there's absolutely no reason for this.
It's just branding.
It's just branding.
Yeah, people just want to touch the coffee when it's just too hot that maybe it'll hurt their finger, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, that entire thing was basically, which was beautiful to me, because it showed that people can get educated to the point where they just stop killing these things.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
No.
There's the Yao Ming stuff on the screen there.
Good guy.
Ex-NBA star Yao Ming
saves millions of sharks.
Yeah, what was that documentary, Seaspiracy, where they showed a bunch of this in East Asia, where they kill these sharks? They just like cull them into gullies and just it's horrible.
Yeah, no, I
and
can't watch.
There's just puddles, not puddles. There's like wide ranges of blood just covering the top of the water. It's just red.
The Cove, Seaspiracy, Cowspiracy, any of the spiracies, any of those environmental documentaries that are that devastating, I just chalk it up to, I've seen enough in the Amazon that I'm not watching it. Right. I'll watch the trailer, I get the point, and then I gotta like give it a break at some point.
Well, I saw a video you put up, I guess maybe like a month ago, 2 months ago, whenever you were in Africa, but you were in the dark, and I'll put the video on the corner of the screen.
Oh, yeah.
You were in the dark, literal feet away from a black rhino.
White rhino.
It was a white rhino. Mm-hmm. And you could, like, I couldn't even see it when the video's coming on, but you can, like,
oh, yeah.
Like, right there.
Oh, yeah.
And that thing wasn't afraid of you?
No. So what happens is, first of all, again, you have rhinos that have grown up in the beautiful golden grass of Buffalo Kloof on the reserve, protected by VETPAW. So these are rhinos that have never known danger, and then they're used to coming to this one area, and there's actually a stone wall. So I immediately after I posted that video, I got messages from people being like, "How dare you take such a risk? How dare you?" And it's like, dude, the worst thing that could happen is that the rhino kills me. I pose no danger to the rhino, and so of course, 300 angry messages about my rhino video.
You can't make everyone happy, bro.
You just can't make them happy. Anyway, it was an amazing night. So we were all there. The reserve owners were there. Warren and Wendy. Ryan was, the VETPAW guys were all there. And then everybody went to bed. And the rhinos were just hanging out outside. And I woke up and it was probably midnight and it was raining. And I went outside and I'm sitting on this concrete wall. So I'm safe. The rhinos really... There's no reason for a rhino to come that close, but they were just eating the grass, and they happened to be feet away from me. And I'm listening to those vocalizations, and I'm watching these animals that I never thought I'd see in real life. And if you see by the end of that video, I'm like, I got tears in my eyes. I couldn't finish saying, I was like going to be like, here I am with Rhino. I couldn't do it. As soon as that thing goes, it just went straight up my spine. And I was like, okay. I was like, I can't. And I just sat there and I watched them. It was incredible. It was absolutely magical. And then it was only then, and then it was like 2 hours later. I tried to go to sleep. I couldn't sleep knowing that they were out there. I just wanted to watch them the whole night.
Where are you sleeping?
In a house, in a structure.
I was going to say
they were like right next to it was in the reserve. So
now.
You're all good. But then I woke up again, and this time I was like, oh man, the rhinos are still there. And I'm looking at the rhinos in the dark, and then I'm like, oh, those aren't rhinos. And these 2 hippos had come. Oh, and fighting with the rhinos. And so these hippos are trying to get some of the grass that the rhinos were eating, and then the rhinos were fighting with the hippos. But then these 2 hippos
were they going at it?
No. So the rhinos, the hippos know that the rhinos will win. The rhinos just have to look at a hippo, and the hippo knows they got the horn.
Oh, just because of the horn?
Oh yeah. I mean, that horn is big.
Have you ever seen hippos fight though?
Well, that's what happened. Bro. The rhinos eventually left, and the hippos opened their mouths and started fighting. And I'm not kidding you. I was standing behind, again, it was like a concrete pillar of this house. And there were 2 hippos 10 feet from me having the most savage battle.
And they're like, oh, like with mouth open, where they like attack each other like that. Like, oh, dude.
It was terrifying. The earth was shaking.
We got to pull up a video of a hippo fighting a hippo, not a hippo versus a rhino.
No, hippo versus rhino is disgusting because the rhino just gores the hippo.
Yeah, I forgot how powerful that thing is.
It'll just pop them.
That's such a cheat code having that. Hippo, the second one, angry hippos fight for mate. This is it. Dude, this is fucking nuts. Cut to like a minute in. Cut to a minute in. The intimidation begins. Attenborough. Oh, I should have given you the mouse, bro. This is painful. Cut to like a minute. Yeah. Right there.
Yep.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah, that was happening 10 feet away from me. And I was safe because I was standing behind concrete and they didn't care that I was there.
Oh my God.
I was like, I could spit at them.
I've always wondered why they take that angle. They don't like try to go in right away because like they'll eventually start trying to cut across, right? Like perpendicular to the mouth. But when they first start, they just like go 4 tooth on 4 tooth. It's kind of weird.
It's just face to face. It's just, look at the blood.
Ugh. Pablo Escobar used to feed people to his hippos.
Actually?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's actually a big problem. All right, that's good, Chris. Thank you, brother. It's actually a problem right now in Colombia. They're trying to figure out, because now they've all f***ed each other and like had long generations. Yeah. So they have a hippo problem. And so they're trying to figure out what to do with them. I don't know if we can pull up an article on that, but the Colombian government was talking about, like, people are like, well, don't euthanize them. And then they're like, well, can we repatriate them to Africa or some shit? But yeah, Colombia government, Pablo Escobar, hippos.
They need to take like a nationwide census in Colombia and just see, like, do we want to keep the hippos or not? Because I'd imagine half the people love the fact that there's hippos.
Yeah, let's click that first one, CBS News.
Oh, sterilizing. So eventually there'll be no hippos.
Right. Colombia on Tuesday began the sterilization of hippopotamuses, descendants of animals illegally brought to the country by late drug kingpin Pablo Escobar in the 1980s. 2 male hippos and 1 female underwent surgical sterilization, environmental authorities said. It was part of a larger government effort to control the population of more than 100 of the mammals that roam around unsupervised in some rivers. The plan includes sterilizing 40 hippos each year, transferring some of them to other countries, and possibly euthanasia. Yeah. So let's hope it's the first 2, but specifically, if they're that upset about it, do the second one. Like, you can afford to do it. You're a government, right?
Yeah, I mean the sterilization is a really passive one. Keeps everybody happy because then they just won't make more hippos.
Hey guys, if you have a second, please be sure to share this episode around on social media and with your friends, whether it's Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, doesn't matter. It's all a huge help. It gets new eyeballs on the show, and it allows us to grow and survive. So thank you to all of you who have already been doing that, and thank you to all of you who are going to do so now.
That's like a really easy way to do it.
I guess, because how's the hippo population doing in Africa these days? Pretty good?
I think, can you look up the conservation status of hippos? I would guess least concern. I don't think that hippos are, because really anywhere there's water, I think they're happy. I don't think anybody's poaching hippos.
And they don't breathe underwater, too, contrary to popular belief.
No, no,
They
they're mammals.
they can just swim under there for a long time.
Oh, they are vulnerable.
Two types of hippos, the common hippo and the pygmy hippo, are listed as vulnerable and endangered, respectively. Can we click that?
No.
Well, is this from a... Sometimes, like, these organizations will overdo it a little bit, but hippopotamuses...
Hey.
I'm just saying that, I get it. They want to make sure people are scared so that we don't get it wrong, but, I just tried to check it. Hippopotamuses, the third largest terrestrial mammal, continue to decline due to widespread poaching for meat and ivory from the hippo's long ivory canine... Oh, I forgot about that. Ivory canine teeth. Meanwhile, human encroachment into hippo habitats have decimated their historic range.
Yeah, that's what's doing it.
And the species have already gone regionally extinct in 3 African countries. Currently, hippos are confined mostly to protected areas. Over the past 10 years, their populations have declined 7 to 20%. The 2 types of hippos, the common hippo and the pygmy hippo, are listed as vulnerable and endangered. Okay.
You are a good reader, my friend.
Yeah, I'm trying.
My dyslexic ass can't read at half that speed.
Yeah, I forgot about that. You had to... Because, if people haven't read your book, Mother of God, it's fucking incredible, number 1.
Thank you.
Number 2... You're an unbelievable writer. It's almost too good. It's almost like, all right, take it back a notch there, pal. Like you have this huge, unbelievably descriptive vocabulary. How did you learn how to do that if you grew up so dyslexic?
My parents read to me every night.
Wow.
I literally couldn't read. I remember the other kids. I remember asking my friends to write things down. I remember being like, hey, could you read me this? And my friends would be like, yeah, that says this. And I remember being 10. And it was very laborious. It was very difficult for me to sit down and read. There'd be homework assignments that I just couldn't do. And so my parents would be like, read more. You're in trouble if you don't read. All that stuff. They tried to incentivize reading. But when that didn't work, every night, regardless, they'd be reading us books. So the entire Lord of the Rings, the Chronicles of Narnia, Jane Goodall, everything you could think of, they read it. And they put in that time. And so writing is easy for me. The use of language from listening, but it comes in much better auditorily for me. And so with Mother of God, I had to, now again, I send my editor a few chapters, and it's funny watching somebody that's never worked with me before, because they'll be like, wait a second, so you can construct this beautiful paragraph, but you can't spell restaurant? They're like, what? And
hey.
That they think I'm fucking with them. They think I'm being lazy because I'll hand in what looks like messy writing, and that's what I do. So even watching you read that, you are reading at 10x the speed that I can actually decipher those characters at. I'm much slower. That's the thing. My dad he goes, you blame everything on dyslexia, and I go, no, it's real. There's a reason. I can't. Still. People send me a spreadsheet, and I'm like, nope. I'll call my friend.
So do you literally your eyes try to see it right to left?
It's not exactly backwards, but I mean, first of all, I guess would you have trouble spelling hippopotamus, or is that easy?
Spelling is hit or miss for me. Sometimes I'm really good. Sometimes I'm like, wow, that was bad.
Yeah. No, sometimes spell check can't figure out what I'm trying to do. I'll be I'll have it written in my notebook, but I'll spell it however I want to spell it. And then I'll be sitting there with my notebook trying to get this onto the page. I mean, I'm writing now, so I'm sitting there doing this, and spell check is we don't know what you're trying to say. Because my spelling is that far out. I'm just sounding out the word.
Wow.
Yeah.
You would never know that reading that book, just because the mastery of the language. I mean, once you could... It sounds like when you were young, reading at all was a problem. But once you actually could read yourself, did you do that a lot when you were maybe in high school?
Oh, yeah. And today, I don't go anywhere without a book.
Right.
Anywhere.
I know now, but...
Yeah. I mean, in the jungle, in the airport, it doesn't matter where you are. It's the book is the one thing, you don't got to recharge it. And they can't tell you to turn it off. It's just, you can always have a book. It's your best friend.
I mean, I have a Kindle, so they can.
Sure. They can. That's why I love my pages.
What did you, besides you were telling me what your parents read you growing up, but what did you eventually get into once you started reading yourself? What types of things interest you?
Okay, so there's a Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman movie called Papillon. It says it's butterfly in French.
I don't know that.
Oh my God. Watch this
movie.
Steve
McQueen and Dustin Hoffman?
Steve McQueen and Dustin Hoffman. It's the best movie you haven't seen.
Obviously, I haven't seen it.
It's a true story. This guy, Henry Charrière, I'm probably butchering his name. It's probably Henri Charrière. But this guy, Henry Charrière, He's a safe cracker, but he gets accused of something worse. He gets accused of murder, and they send him from France, where he lives, to French Guiana in South America. So they shackle him, they put him on a ship, and they send him to prison. And they send him to one of those prisons that's like on an island, out in the jungle. There's no way you're ever getting out of there. And the whole book is him going, I have 2 goals. One is to not. He goes, even though I hate everybody, I hate the prisoners, I hate the system, I hate the fact that I was wrongfully convicted. He determines that he's not going to become an evil person. That's his first thing. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but in the situation he's in, you could just become a psycho killer because you'd be like, I hate everybody. And he decides he's going to escape. And the whole book is him escaping. And it's bananas. The book is even better than the movie, but Steve McQueen, it's worth
Pretty
it.
good stuff.
It's worth it.
I got to read the book too.
And then at one point he escapes. And again, they held like a huge tribunal because this book came out and it went mega global success. And then they were like, there's no way any of this is true. So they went in and they checked this book and they had like a huge tribunal. They checked it. They went and found the prison guards. They checked dates against places and people that he said, everything checks out. They couldn't disprove a single one of this guy's stories. And like one of his escapes, he lived on an island with a tribe where he was actually married to these 2 sisters for a while. And then after a while, he escaped off of there. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely incredible what this guy did and what he endured and kept being a good person. He didn't just turn and just go psycho, which like a lot of the prisoners around him were just becoming, and then they put him in solitary confinement for 2 years. They put him in a box with
That'll do it.
Yeah. Like crazy, crazy stuff.
Do you still like to read a lot of fiction?
I like to read a lot of fiction. I like to read a lot of nonfiction. I usually have both. It usually depends what mood I'm in. And so like, usually like if I'm like traveling and moving around and stuff, like I'll just like be reading nonfiction. And then when I can like settle in, when I have a dog and a couch or a hammock, then I can like get into a story.
I started getting into fiction a little bit more because I've always read nonfiction, right? I love nonfiction. I love learning about things and stuff. But I think it's really good, especially for a writer, to constantly be reading people who have to paint the story from scratch.
Yep.
Because there's just something so majestic and beautiful about that you can't make up.
Yes, and I love when nonfiction is written like fiction. Like when you catch a nonfiction writer who's writing beautiful prose.
Yes.
So the book The Tiger, which I got to get you a copy of this book. It's about this tiger that decides it becomes a man-eating tiger in Siberia and starts hunting humans. And so the tiger conservationists in the region realize they have to kill this tiger, or as it's going from cabin to cabin killing people. If they don't get this tiger and people realize it's a man-eating tiger, then it's going to spur everyone to go out and kill all the tigers. And they're already so endangered. And so to save the tigers, they have to kill this man-eating tiger. And it's this insane hunt. And the writer does this amazing job of painting the ecosystem in this wild eastern edge of of Russia. One of the best nonfiction books I've ever read.
I got to read
Absolutely incredible.
Who wrote that?
John Valiant or Valiant. I don't know how to say his last name.
That you sold me on that.
Yeah. And if you go look at the reviews, it's literally one of the best nonfiction books
They
ever
haven't made
written.
a movie out of that yet?
I don't know how you would make a movie out of this book because the main character is a 900-pound tiger.
Oh. So does he tell it through the eyes of the tiger itself at all?
No, but with like if you watch a movie, there's a movie, I forget what the movie is. It's with Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin, but they're in the wilderness and there's a bear fight where Anthony Hopkins fights a bear. And it's incredible because there's a real bear. It's Bart the bear, the same bear that was in Legends of the Fall. It was in White Fang. It's a harrowing bear fight. It's absolutely savage. And then when you cut to The Revenant, where you have a digital bear, it's not the same. And so I don't know how you could carry a movie. Maybe you could make it like an adult animation or something. But to me, having this, incredibly beautiful, gnarly environment of Russian Kamchatka and the rivers and the eagles and the snow leopards, and then you have like a computer animated tiger walking around, like it's not going to work.
I think one way they could do it, I haven't read the book, but I'm just thinking out loud here. One way they could do it is the drama of the unknown. Don't show it. Don't tell the story through the eyes of the humans who witness it and the humans who are struggling with the back and forth of we kill this tiger to save the rest.
You could get away with that for a lot of it. And I think, I don't know what the rules are on filming with animals, but you could definitely, because one of the some of the amazing things that this tiger does, because they say like it got shot. It doesn't kill a tiger that big.
Really? If you shoot it in the heart?
I mean, if you shoot it in the heart, maybe, but like even a pretty large caliber to a 900-pound tiger, they could take that in the shoulder.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so this tiger just realized humans were always the thing that were threatening it. So then it started hunting humans, but then it started realizing, where do you find humans? In their cabins. And it would smell because the bed smells like humans the most. So these people would be out in the remote wilderness. They would go into their cabins and there would be a tiger on the bed. Last thing they ever saw. Yep, gone. There's one, in the beginning of the book, there's a scene where they're describing, they're tracking, and they're looking for, they know this guy got eaten by a tiger because there's blood all over the snow. But they're looking at the tracks, and the human tracks are running. You can see this, there's a big spread. The human tracks are running, and then all of a sudden they just stop.
Gone.
Because the tiger hit him from the side and took him 18 feet that way. It just like,
what a way to go.
As they're tracking him, you know, they bring you through that. They're like, wait, the tracks end. And then they're looking, 10 feet, 15 feet in either direction. They're like, there's nothing.
It's just like in the Da Vinci Code when the cane track. Have you run into anyone? That's an inside joke. Sorry, people. The last time Paul was in here, you were going off about some of the people who are trying to reinvent the Amazon and claiming the whole thing's man-made and running with these headlines. And Danny Jones and me crack up over that line. You're like, I asked you, I'm like, why do you think they're doing this? And you're like, I don't know, because they think their life is the fucking Da Vinci Code.
I got so mad.
But I understand. Like, I've talked with a lot of people on the podcast since then about how some of these things can spread. Because maybe someone, for example, like Graham Hancock, doesn't say, oh, the Amazon was man-made. But when he says maybe there's evidence that some of the Terra Preta or some other stuff could have been, the problem is, and I actually empathize with him in this scenario because he's taken out of context, but it then creates the headline of the Amazon's man-made, so then you can have politicians be like, oh, it's man-made. We can keep knocking it down. We'll fucking rebuild it.
Yeah, and so that comment, now we have to explain it to everybody. That comment, I was going off on it, and they were like, this guy Graham Hancock, and I'm like, well, whoever he is, and I went off on him. I had no idea who he was. And then I found out that half of planet Earth absolutely loves Graham Hancock. Yeah. Everybody loves Graham Hancock. And so I went in and did my research, and then I actually listened to what he was saying. And you're right, Graham Hancock never said that. Yeah. He said there's more here in terms of ancient civilizations than we first thought. Then some dipshit reporters went and said, some archaeologists just said the Amazon was made by humans.
How do you stop that?
You don't. That's humans.
Because they're just going to do that. That headline sells.
Yeah, but that's that's what you get for the news.
Yeah,
that's the news.
When was the first time you read about the Amazon when you were a kid?
I'm trying to think. I can remember almost everything from being a kid. I have like an incredibly photographic memory. I remember catching my first snake. I remember the first time I saw a bear. I remember everything. I don't remember the first time I came online with the Amazon. I remember being so small that I was that I had broken pieces off the Christmas tree and like stuck them in the rug, and I had dinosaurs, and I was pretending it was the Amazon. And then I got in trouble for breaking things off of a Christmas tree.
That was it.
I mean, that was the first time I remember thinking about the Amazon, but I was that young that I was still playing with dinosaurs. So it's probably like 17 or something.
And when you landed in the Amazon for the first time, was it anything like you had thought?
I thought when I was on my way to the Amazon, I thought that I would get there and it would, I didn't know what to expect. I thought that maybe I would get there and it would be cool. Then I really that was my best. That was my I'm from
Brooklyn.
Yeah, I mean really.
Yeah.
I'm like fuck, but I wasn't ready for, when you break through the clouds and the first time you see it, you see jungle to the horizon. You see nothing but jungle. I was glued to the window of the plane. If I could have crawled out of it, I would have. My heart was rattling against my ribs. I was losing my mind when I saw that jungle for the first time, and I was going, holy shit, it's infinity jungle. It's just to the edge. It's to as far, and you're flying over it for a while. And then you come in and you land and you see some deforestation and stuff. And then a day later, I'm on a boat and I'm going upriver, and this is just these giant walls of jungle, like Heart of Darkness jungle. And then there's, you learn how to distinguish what primary forest is, jungle that's never been cut. There's differentiation in the vegetation types. So you have like palms and giant hardwoods, and you have river cane and all this different stuff, but it's a varied canopy. If you see like a homogeneous canopy, if you see like one species, or if you see like a lower canopy, you know that that's been cut by humans and it's grown back.
Yes.
And then it's like all cecropia trees or something. What I was going into was primary forest, like towering ancient forest. And that's the stuff that you never get back once it's gone. And so I went up that for 2 days, and then literally the second that we parked the boat and they're like, all right, we all got to carry our stuff. And you got to carry your stuff a quarter of a mile into the jungle to the research station.
And you're with Emma and JJ?
I'm with Emma and JJ, and I dropped my pack immediately because I was so amazed that there are leafcutter ants. I'd only seen leafcutter ants in planet Earth. And suddenly there's leafcutter ants in front of me. They're actually carrying the leaves. It was just like, I was like on my stomach, just amazed watching these leafcutter ants. And you could pick up the leaf and they just keep running. They're like, they have no idea. They're just like, their job is to carry that leaf in this direction. They're following a pheromone trail, and that's what they're doing. And I was so amazed. And of course, instantly they were like, why aren't you carrying the bags, man? We see leafcutter ants every day, dude. It's a leafcutter ant. It's like it's a squirrel.
You're like, I'm in heaven right now, guys.
I was losing my mind. And then I saw like the first big tree and I like tripped and fell over. The jungle absolutely shut down my brain.
Because when you're coming down on the plane and you're looking down into the jungle, it's kind of like that first shot on the last podcast intro we used where, remember that, where like the clouds are above I'll show you after. But you can't see, this is a misconception I think a lot of us have. You can't see into it because it's completely blocked. You just know it's down there. The sunlight almost barely gets through.
It looks like
in
a
many
field
places.
of green broccoli.
Right.
You can't see. And then 150 feet below that is the ground.
Right.
It's like a human's tiny. Like a human is minuscule.
Does it feel like it's daytime down there when you're in it?
Yeah, it feels like daytime. And there's beautiful spokes of sunlight like coming through, but they say only about 3% of the sunlight that hits the top of the canopy actually reaches the floor of the Amazon. 3%.
Whoa.
And so that's why the turnover rate of the trees, you have these ancient hardwoods. And so some of our ironwoods are like 1,000, 1,200 years old, like ancient trees. But then you'll also get a sapling sitting in the forest. So the seed falls, sapling grows up to about here, and it'll just wait. And it'll wait for 10 years sometimes. They're waiting for a branch to fall or a tree to fall. They're waiting for a light gap. They need more light than that to grow. So that entire jungle is just an energy economy. Everything is pushing each other down and shoving each other over. The trees are all fighting to get their canopy up into the sun. Everything is an energy economy. It's all trying to get to that sunlight. And so if you're growing on the forest floor, you're not able to get the amount of sunlight you need to invest and to stack out and to make that giant canopy, like a trunk, like a kapok tree, an ironwood tree, a Brazil nut tree. They put all of their effort into building this monster column, this huge trunk. And then you have something like the vines, which I forget how many species of vines there are in the jungle, but it's one of the major things that's holding the whole jungle together. But the vines cheat. The vines produce some fruit. Animals eat them. They jump to another tree, take a shit in the canopy of the tree, and then the vines are up in the top. They have access to the sunlight. And so there's all these different methods that the plants are using, but everybody's just trying to get to the sun.
How fast can that vine grow?
They grow fast. But a strangler fig.
50 feet to get all the way up there.
No, they get deposited up in the crown of the tree. Think where the monkey goes here and then takes a shit right here. So that the vine is starting from here.
Yeah.
But then it's going to drop a tendril down and start pulling nutrients from the ground. But then it's going to shoot up some leaves up here. And so you have it getting the sunlight, but it's like major boost.
And how old are the trees that haven't been cut down? Like the top of the canopy trees. Do we have an idea?
It's hard because like if you were to go cut an oak tree right now in the forest, you would have rings. You have tree rings. We have a lot of features in the wood that we have on this table.
Sorry, the Amazon for this table.
This is not, Julian.
What do you mean?
This is not from the Amazon.
What?
This is pine, dude.
Yeah, it's from the Amazon.
It's from North America. This is something I have to
from Amazon.com.
People tried to get me excited I had one friend. He wanted me to. This guy got me a bunch of books, and he kept telling me, "Did you read the books I got you?" I said, "No." He goes, "I'm going to kill a butterfly every day that goes by." This is how magnificent. And actually, this is what when
Me and Danny Jones had like a moment of silence for the wood while we had it on the ground when we were building it in this room. We're like, we're very sorry to Paul Rosolie.
Right, what Julian
Thank you for
doesn't
this
know
tree.
is-
Now make the fucking table.
Yeah, what you don't know is that when I take you to the jungle, I'm going to tell the trees.
Yeah.
Well, right when he's on ayahuasca, I'm going to be like, "Jungle, do you know?"
Wait,
what he did?
no. I'm not doing ayahuasca right before we go into the jungle for the first time. I'm
Whoa,
gonna do it after.
okay. First of all, I keep having this conversation with everybody. When I tell my local team, the guys that brought me into the jungle, the guys who taught me everything I know about the jungle, when I tell them that there are people who do ayahuasca not in the jungle, they throw their heads back laughing. They're like, the only place you can do it is the jungle because it comes from the jungle.
Is that just like a meta thing, or is that scientifically,
Well, I mean, you can. You certainly can. You can take the substance and, go do it in a yoga studio in LA if you want to. That is a thing that you can do.
I'll bet. Guys, if you're still watching this video and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please take 2 seconds and go hit it right now. Thank you.
But if you speak to the medicine men and the shamans and the villagers in Amazonia, they would say what they have told me is that they don't even want to go to the outer city limits to do it. You want to be completely surrounded by the jungle. And so the time that I did ayahuasca, the shaman who was doing the ceremony was Don Ignacio, and he was about 80-something years old at this point. So this is someone that's lived out in the jungle for months.
Wrote
of
about
his
this guy in
lives.
your book, I think.
I think he's mentioned. I didn't mention it. I know I didn't cover it at the time. At the time I was writing it.
Oh, Don Santiago.
Don Santiago is
Yeah.
JJ's dad. This is Don Ignacio. They were friends. Kind of the old guard, the old guys. But it's very intimidating because you sit down in a circle and everybody's in a circle and there's candles and it's all dark and you can hear the jungle out there in the darkness. And, you think like you're doing mushrooms or something. I was like, oh, I'm going to have a notebook. And I was like, I have, some cigarettes. And I was like, this is going to be great. And I thought I was going to be able to move. You kneel in front of the shaman and, he's got the feathers and he's smoking a cigarette. And so he draws the cigarette and then he blesses the drink with the smoke and he says a prayer over the drink and the smoke flows over the liquid and then he gives it to you and you drink. And as soon as I drank, I was very aware of that was a one-way door. I had just made a decision that I couldn't take back. And I went and I sat down, I took my place and then somebody else went and then they drank. And for maybe 5 minutes, I was sitting there and going, okay, no, it's going to be okay. For about 5 minutes, I convinced myself that it was going to be okay. And then you're listening to the throbbing, insects throbbing, and the frogs throbbing, and all that whoosh, 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 and all of a sudden you just feel it start moving under your skin. And all of the sound of the jungle starts moving under your skin.
The sound of the jungle moves under your skin.
The sound of the jungle starts moving with your blood. Like the vibration of it. In the Matrix when he touches the mirror and then he takes his fingers back and it's on him?
Yes.
I picked up my hand and the jungle was moving up my arm. And when it takes you, I dematerialized. I fell straight through the atoms of reality. I fell like through the planet. And I spent years in unconstructed dream space. I was down there.
Years.
I hated it. I was so scared. I mean, what ayahuasca has the ability to do is to literally open up the jaws of the universe.
Are you sitting, like in the real world though, are you sitting down this whole time?
Oh, in the real world, your face is against the deck and you're drooling. In the real world, you look ridiculous. But in your head, you are flying through other universes. You are through wormholes, nebulas, ancient civilizations, other planets. You are through insane. I spent a very long time in space. This is what you experience. You experience being in complete blackness. I started from a consciousness with no ability to speak. I stopped thinking in words. We think in words. We don't realize we do, but we actually think in words. I stopped thinking in words and was just...
How do you stop thinking in words?
You drink ayahuasca.
I know, but what? So when you're seeing things though, you could know what that is without calling it in your mind what that is?
It was the experience of being an awareness. I was aware that I don't even know how to explain it now that I'm not on ayahuasca. We should have some.
We could hook it up.
I was aware that I was there, floating black, and I could see stars very far below. And then, you go through so many things. There's so many stages. There was the deep space stage where you had no physical form. At one point, I got to experience being a snake and moving through the forest. And so the trees were like skyscrapers. The trees were 10 times the size of these trees. And you're moving through leaves and going over obstacles through the forest. And then, there's just endless stages. I could honestly fill the podcast with all the crazy shit that I experienced. But it's...
How long were you under? Approximately
5 or 6 hours. But
that's a while.
It's a long time. And so the trip ended with that, the snake form was, I was very, very excited to have physical form again. And so I was able to go through deep jungle. I was able to see places where the forest was burning. I was able to communicate with the other animals. And then I came to a place where the animals had all met and there was this light coming from the forest and they were deciding what to do. The jungle was like holding a conference where they're trying to decide what to do. And I was this tiny snake in the corner.
What animals are there? Do you remember?
Every conceivable animal had come out to this clearing. There's this glowing light and they were communicating with whatever the leader was.
Do you remember?
It didn't have form. It was just everyone was there to listen to the guidance of this one thing. All of the animals. It was light. There was just light. And then at some point after that, I found myself talking to a beetle, this giant beetle with jaws. I mean, this is a beetle the size of a tractor trailer, like this giant epic beetle. And it just said, "Give it to me." And I was like, "What do you want?" And then the trees started falling like 9/11. Trees started falling like that, like imploding. And everything started falling apart. The natural world was dying. And this beetle, I was going, "What do you want?" And I'm standing in a desert and like my clothes are blowing off and everything's flying. And it just goes, "Give it to me." And it opens its jaws. And I start vomiting a rainbow. And I went back through every wormhole, every fucking nebula. I went through like 1,000 years and landed smack on my body, lifted up my face, and then just explosive vomit for about maybe a half hour. And so when we came back...
Oh my God.
From all of that, I was thanking God that I had hands. It was so amazing to have a hand again, to know hands, to remember your name.
Were people watching you
No,
who
it's
were
pitch black.
sober?
It's the middle of the night. It's only the shaman and people on a trip.
Now, he's not on a trip, though.
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is?
He has to go with you. He guides you through it.
So who the fuck is chaperone?
Okay, well,
you're sitting there like Leo and Wolf of Wall Street, like, but you're like tripping balls and no one's there. Like, so you're in the Amazon.
So after we drank, he comes around and he's going to each person. He's supposed to check on you and guide you. And so what we found out later was that 80-something-year-old Don Ignacio had, on this particular day, overboiled the ayahuasca. And so at like 4 a.m, we're all coming back. We're like relearning the fact, like we're trying to learn how to walk. We're all like holding onto each other's shoulders. And we're all like, "Yo, where the fuck is Don Ignacio?" And we start looking and I like wake up JJ. I'm like, "JJ." And JJ's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Where's Don Ignacio?" And he's like, "He's fine. Don't worry about it." And I was like, "All right." So we fell asleep right there on the deck. We all wake up again. Now it's light out. And there's a hammock where he's supposed to be, but there's no one in the hammock. So we start like a search party looking for the shaman. And we found him, in E.T., when E.T. escapes and they find him like in the stream, like laying there. We found him just like that, butt-ass naked. And we picked him up and we wrapped him in a towel. We said, "Don Ignacio, what happened?" And he goes,
"Fuck."
He goes, I've been doing this for, 50 years. I've been drinking ayahuasca. He goes, "The spirits punished me last night. They punished all of us."
Yeah.
Because I overboiled it. And I was like, "That's great. That was the trip that I chose to go on. The worst one that retired the shaman."
I'm just trying to picture, forget being a snake, seeing a giant fucking beetle with its
huge
tweezer mouth open.
Yeah, it was like
screaming.
It was
at
like
me.
4 elephants big. Huge.
Give it to me. That is fucking terrifying.
It was terrifying. Like it took me weeks to feel normal again. I saw so much shit.
How old were you when you did this?
20-something. I feel like I mean for the shaman, for the most respected shaman in the region to go, fuck that. That was some heavy ayahuasca. That was a heavy trip. I'm still my dreams have never been the same. It's like since that time, there's certain times where all of a sudden I'll get like wormhole linked back to one of the places that I was. It's very strange.
What do you think that is?
I don't know, because when you start learning about ayahuasca and the probability that humans would discover the two compounds, the root and the vine, that work together to take you to that place, just the trial and error period, going through 1,500 species of trees and the thousands of vines and lianas and all the other orchids and bromeliads and chemical compounds that are contained in the Amazon. If you just, were to walk into the forest and say, well, I'm going to try this and I'm going to try this, well, then you're probably going to die first. So that guy dies. How many years does it take before you get to the guy that figures out if you boil this and you skin this and you put it together? And that's why, if you go into indigenous medicine, they'll very quickly tell you this was a gift from the gods. How else could we know about this? This was given to us to maintain our connection with the spirit world.
How much do you think... How do I want to ask this question? When it comes to some of the saps and some of the natural medicines that they're able to make out there, what percentage of it scientifically does solve whatever affliction they're going after it is, versus they also believe in it?
It depends what your sample size is. Because if your sample size is just everybody, like I've seen, so I feel like we come at things from a very clinical direction. If somebody tells me this will work, this will cure your cold, this will make you taller, it's like, okay, show me, show me, where are your studies? I want to see the data. And so with the jungle, when I got there and they were like, oh, this mushroom will cure an ear infection, I was like, yeah, okay. And I figured that a lot of it was the fact that they just believed in it. And what we found out once we started doing the work that we're doing now, like we bring Radford University to the Amazon, we can actually have medical students with petri dishes and microscopes test some of these tree saps. And we've put bacterial cultures into petri dishes, and we've seen that some of these saps murder infections. Like, it's not a joke. Like, these saps have saved my life multiple times. That picture, that picture where I'm all fucked up.
Yeah. We'll put that in the corner of the screen.
Like, that doesn't happen anymore because now we have access. We have that jungle knowledge. We know how to stop stuff like that. So no, there's a lot of stuff where there's an element of what we would call bullshit, where you kind of have to believe in it for it to work. There's plenty of that out there. But the pharmacology of the Amazon contains some of the most powerful compounds on Earth, medicinal compounds that are contained in the plants. And that's according to Western medicine. That's not a joke. That you don't have to, it doesn't matter if you believe in it. Like, certain saps will do what they say. They will accomplish. Like, there's a root called barbasco, and we've all heard of this, but you can take in a stream, you can crush up this root, throw it into a pool in the stream, and you just put a stick on one side and you put a stick on the other side. You kind of slow down the stream. What happens is all the fish that are in that particular section of the stream will float up to the surface. You pick which ones you want. We want the wasako, we want the catfish. We take those, throw them in the bag. We're going to eat those for lunch. And then you remove the sticks and you remove the barbasco, and the barbasco will stop poisoning the water. The fish will eventually reoxygenate their lungs and nobody dies.
Whoa.
Yeah. So humans figured that out somehow. That's indigenous knowledge, and that's something you can't fake it.
Yeah.
So if they said, oh, this works, it's like, well, it either does or it doesn't. You can't make fish float to the water without some pretty serious chemical compounds.
It feels like there's almost these hacks, like these nature hacks according to species, where you could almost like the story of JJ showing you how to catch a crocodile for the first time, where they like stick the, I guess, like the bamboo down, and suddenly it wraps itself around it and comes up. There's something to that. Like, why does the crocodile respond to that and another species doesn't?
Oh, I mean, if you go species to species, there's all kinds of interesting stuff like that. Right now I'm reading this book. I think it's called Are We Smart Enough to Know How Smart Animals Are? It's by Franz de Waal. It's an incredible book. And it's all about how human studies of animal intelligence can just repeatedly fall short where it's our intellectual limits that are prohibiting us from understanding the depth of intelligence of animals.
How do they argue that?
Oh, the guy does it for hundreds of pages. It's incredible. You feel like a moron by the end of the book. But
what's some of the main takeaways?
Simple stuff. Like they'll say, okay, are animals self-aware? So they'll take a mirror and they'll stick it in front of an animal, and they'll say, does the animal touch itself? Well, most animals don't care. You know, like a bear is going to react to a mirror. A bear is going to see another bear, and it's either going to fight or flight. It's either going to run away or it's going to fight the bear. Our cats and dogs, which are domesticated animals, so this is different, but they've learned to not really care about mirrors so much.
Golden retrievers do.
If you have a puppy, they'll growl at it, but then after a day, they don't care. They learn very quickly. Now, what they did, I think it was in the Bronx Zoo, they painted an X on one of the elephants' foreheads, and instantly, she looked, and she went like this. So she knew it was her.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so they've done this with a bunch of animals. And I think that there's some species of magpies that recognize themselves, some of the greater apes, gorillas, chimps, bonobos, like those things. It's very, very small. Dolphins also pass the test.
Dolphins are smart as fuck, yeah.
But again, it's so often like, is knowing yourself in a mirror, is a mirror a natural, you know what I mean? Like, oh, the other thing the elephant did that was really cool is that the elephant opened her mouth. Think about it. You've never seen the inside of your mouth with your own eyes. You can't. And the first thing she did was try to get a look inside of her mouth. She was trying to, I was like, whoa, you really get this mirror. But there's just study after study where I can't recall them like that, but it's like he has all these examples where researchers, gave the monkeys this, and then you go, yeah, but the monkeys compared to the kids, and then they'd be like, yeah, but the monkeys are in like a sterile clinical environment where their neck is in a piece of plastic, and they're terrified and harassed, and they're dealing with a member of another species, humans, administering a test. And then you have human kids, and they're like, all right, listen, Timmy, can you put the pencil through the hole? And he's like, yeah, duh. Like, well, in order to replicate that test, well, then you need to have a monkey that's raised by people, very calm, in control, that you can communicate with. So like these things where they realize like you can't just put them in a sterile environment. If you put me in a white, research environment and shine some bright lights at me and told me to do math problems, you would think I was half dead. I mean, it's like taking a cat and a fish and throwing them both in a pool and then being like, which one can swim? It's like, it just doesn't match up.
Are we going to be able to do some sort of scientific experiments? Maybe we already can at this point, but at least in the near future, though, where maybe you chip an animal in the wild and then that chip that they don't notice just measures their brain activity and how it is, what it responds to.
What it responds to, I think they do a lot of that. I mean, with rats, they have, the rats.
Exactly, but that's
the rats
enclosed,
dream about tomorrow,
right,
or the things they're scared of.
right.
I think they recently said the dogs dream of things they're excited for. But when it comes to intelligence, it's so fascinating because we really don't have any way of knowing. It's very, very difficult to penetrate. One of the stories they told was that they hung something from a tree, and then they put sticks on the ground. And so like human kids were able to go and take the sticks and then knock the treat out of the tree. And then they gave the sticks to the elephants, and the elephants did not use it. But it was too tall for the elephants. So it's the same trick. They're supposed to use the sticks, but they didn't. But then they repeated the thing, but instead of giving them a stick, they gave them a box. And the elephants knew to move the box, stand on the box, they could get up higher. Elephants don't want to use their trunk to hold a stick. That's just not how they do things. That's not elephant intelligence. And so they're testing animals on human intelligence. Like for a while we thought that domesticated dogs, which is very not the case, were smarter than wolves.
Why did we think that?
Because the researchers had access to domesticated dogs, and domesticated dogs have learned, as you know, to watch exactly what we're doing. If they can't solve a problem, they turn around and they look at us.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't get it. I need help. They look at us for everything. Wolf, they encounter a problem. They don't give a shit what you're doing.
No.
Wolf is on a totally different wavelength.
Survive,
they're totally different. And so even there, who has access to wild wolves that have grown up problem solving in the true wild? It's like, how do you test that intelligence? So Same thing goes for, elephants. Like the time that I've spent with wild elephants.
I'm so jealous of you for spending so much time with them. It's so cool.
I wish I could just like transport back to like 16-year-old me and be like, dude, it's just wait.
Yeah.
Just wait.
Yeah.
It's so, because usually when you see elephants, you pull up next to them in a truck and there's people taking pictures and the elephants are kind of, they're not thrilled about being watched, usually. Every now and then you get that one individual. When I'm out with VETPAW, there's this one Dingane, is awesome, beautiful, huge elephant. He's one of, there's a problem happening right now where, I got to get this right or else people come after me. Poaching has brought down the size of African elephant tusks to the point that some African elephants don't even have tusks.
It's a huge genetic problem.
It's a huge genetic problem.
Century. Yeah.
An elephant without tusks is a huge problem. That's a terrible shame. And so on Buffalo Kloof, where they're doing such incredible work, they've brought in Dingane to mate with the matriarchs of these other herds, and he carries the big tusk gene, the huge tusks, and so we really want to have him pass that on. So he was young, and he came to the reserve with a collar on, a transmitter, so they could always know where he was in case he broke out. Instantly, there'd be people trying to kill him. So for his own safety, he had to have that collar on. And last year, not that long after I talked to you, a couple months after I talked to you, we went to Buffalo Kloof. We were out with the VETPAW team, and we got the chopper in the air. And this was a collaboration between Jungle Keepers and VETPAW, where we said, we're going to get Dingane's collar off. And so now Buffalo Kloof is the reserve. This is where this elephant exists. This is where all the other elephants exist. And so they have helicopters. They have their own helicopters. And so they got the chopper in the air. We went out. They darted him. Dr. Will Folds, this incredible veterinarian. The entire team, all the staff from Buffalo Kloof, all the VETPAW guys, everybody comes in. They take the collar off. We do some checking of the vitals. Everything that needed to be done veterinarily got done on Dingane. Everybody gets out of there. This elephant stood up. And we had this huge elephant, ears out, just beautiful, without the collar. And so he's free now. And we got to, that was one of the most amazing things that I've ever gotten to see. But he's one of the few elephants that he'll come up to the car and just hang out. Like if he's over there and we stop, because you don't go on foot. You can pull up, you can look at an elephant, that's fine. But out of respect and out of safety, you don't get out of the car. It's dangerous. He's one of the few elephants that'll just like come up. He'll just hang out. He'll pull up some grass. He'll chew. He'll like look at you guys, Very curious elephant, very friendly elephant. He actually like goes near where the owners of the reserve have their house on the hill in the reserve, right in the center of everything. And he'll actually just like go up to their house and just start breaking branches off their tree, and they have to like chase him away. And like he enjoys it. He's just being a pain in the ass. He just likes the attention.
So the humans he's come to know are ones who are kind and let him go where he wants to go, help him out, obviously. They're very smart, so they're able to figure that out. But there's still a lot of elephants that, the most dangerous thing that can happen to you in the wild is being head-to-head with an elephant. You're done. Yeah. And there's a lot of elephants that, understandably so, because of the brutal slaughters that they have been put through over the last century or so, they don't fuck with humans.
No, they don't fuck with humans. We were on this road and we're watching the females and the babies, and there's a light rain, and we're taking pictures, and we're all kind of chilling. We're kind of like, sitting up on the doors and taking pictures, and the elephants know we're there. They're right up against us. And then Connor at VETPAW was just like, guys. We look down the road, and the biggest bull on the reserve, this bull Kester, is coming. It came like a black cloud. It looked like a thunder cloud. This thing walked down the road, and everyone, it was just like, get in the car. We might have to back up. It was just, you just don't know.
Is it staring at you?
He's looking at us. His ears are out. He's just like, this is my road. Why you're so at their mercy. If they want to flip the truck, they flip the truck. They want to crush your skull, they crush your skull. You feel the control. Every day we're like, if I want to go do that, you no longer have you want. You're in a situation where whatever happens next happens next. And again, he's a good elephant. He's not a violent elephant, but you're on your best behavior. Around. It's actually a very humbling experience being around an elephant like that, a big dominant male. They actually, I believe that he killed another one of the males that I forget if he gored him or pushed him off of a cliff, but.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. And that was another one that they had brought on with the big tusk gene that they were really hoping was going to mate and make the elephant population there grow and everything else. And this guy's just like, nah, that's not going to happen.
Here.
That's not going to happen.
I'm king of this jungle.
Yeah.
Have you, besides that one you just laid out, though, have you personally, like when you've been on the ground, not in a truck, had any close calls with elephants in India or Africa?
Not in Africa. Africa, I've always been extremely responsible and always followed the rules.
But India.
But India, yeah, I was out one day, and I actually was trying to be very, very careful. I was already very aware of how dangerous elephants could be, and in India, you have wild elephants living in between human society of 1 billion people, and elephants. The South India has the largest remaining population of Asian elephants, so there's a lot of elephants crossing roads, moving through towns, raiding farms, and of course the villagers come out and throw fire at them. They're literally trying to electrocute them, poison them. It's a war. It's literally a war.
Can we pull up some video of that, Chris?
Type in elephant lifts truck or elephant throws truck. Yeah, there's an elephant that got sick of being a temple elephant.
That one?
No. Go to videos. There it is. Top one.
Flipping
Watch this
27 vehicles in India.
So see the guys on the top. Look, he just threw a motorcycle at that guy.
Oh, they like did a whole, but
they tried to make him do
like a circus animal.
They tried to make him do the parade thing for the temple.
Oh, yeah,
and
that didn't go well.
This is actually a very tragic thing to see because this elephant has reached his limit.
Oh my God! Look at him just fucking. Oh my God!
That's just rage at this.
That's
point.
a sizable dump truck too. Look at him he's throwing that thing around like a rag doll.
He threw a motorcycle at those people with his trunk. And
these aren't even as big as African elephants.
This is not a big elephant.
They're not. These elephants in Asia are nothing like the size of an African elephant. Imagine that.
Yeah, in a second. I mean, just think how strong their tusks are. That tusk isn't breaking. A lot of times he's lifting that entire truck on one. Look at this. On one tusk.
Holy shit!
And notice he's not trying. This is the heartbreaking thing about this. He's not trying to do anything here. He's just lost his mind. He's sick of being told what to do. He's sick of wearing a costume.
It's unnatural.
It's horrible.
It's terrible.
And you know what they have to do to them to make them do that? They have to break them. They have to break them. They have to beat them until they listen. So you have to take a baby elephant and say, you have to do what we say.
Oh, so they raised this elephant.
Yeah. Yes. That elephant was probably either born in captivity or stolen from the wild.
So
but
his
elephants
natural DNA
are wild.
is coming out now.
Yes. So there's no like a golden retriever is something we've bred. A cow, a chicken, these are all domesticated animals. An elephant is a wild species. And so when you have a tamed elephant, it's an elephant that in some capacity has been corralled, trained, whatever by humans. And of course, there's a spectrum of some people can adopt a baby elephant that needs a home and maybe they can't get it back to their herd. And, let's say we did it right. We gave it, acres and acres to live on and we gave it food and we never hurt the animal. Fine. But then there's beating an animal, making it march in a procession, street, like being on the street with horns and sirens and people and crowds and other elephants. And then that elephant has just lost its mind. That's just rage exploding out of an animal. You see the people on its back are too scared to even jump off because if they jump off, they'll be killed.
Everyone gets, not everyone, but a lot of people think about the things that aren't on this earth and you get stressed about it. You think about what happens after death. You think about why everything's here. People think about aliens, all this stuff. And it's wildly interesting. I do too. But sometimes I wonder if our relationship with nature as a whole, there's some biblical reckonings that happened there. Because like this planet, it's been around a long time. And there's creatures that have died out naturally, and then there's creatures that maybe humans have caused to die out. And then there's creatures that should be incredible because of their intellectual abilities and how they look, too, like an elephant. And yet, somehow, the top of the food chain, man, does things to these creatures that karmically, sometimes I wonder about that coming back around.
I mean, nature is a brutal place, but I think we as the sentient beings, as the most intelligent animal on this planet, have a responsibility. And I agree with you where sometimes you can almost get very biblical with it, where is it, are we on this rock to reconcile the differences between species and the intelligences? And I mean, we struggle with it enough within our own species. And then recognizing, sort of expanding the compassion to realize that life is so rare for all the talk of UFOs and for all the fun that we have with it, and they had those hearings recently where some guy said that he spoke to some guy about some. We have no evidence. Show me one person right now. Show me, just like medicines in the Amazon. Prove it right now. Yes or no? No.
The physical evidence.
Physical
if
evidence
it
in my hand.
Is in the government.
I'm from Brooklyn. Put it in my hand.
Yeah.
Then no.
That's what Michio Kaku says. He's like, for God's sake, steal a pen, steal something. If you see a UFO crash,
Yeah.
he's right. We don't have, as we know right now.
Yeah.
I'm very open minded to it, but
I'm very open-minded to it, too.
We don't have hard evidence.
You're telling me that no one in Siberia found, a piece of busted wing or a dropped pen? The
what if they could
Egyptians don't
simulate
have.
that?
What do you mean if they could simulate?
What if you had higher beings from somewhere far away who are so advanced that they could simulate something disappearing upon
Sure
being seen?
I mean, that's fine, but then that almost gets. But look at what we're talking about. We just got to beings that we can't see with dematerializing objects. I'm very much like, look, we have elephants that need our help. We have children that are hungry. I'm like, I want to work with the things I can see, hear, touch, and fix that are happening now. And so I want to go back to that story though, the elephant. So now that we saw the rage of that elephant, the wild elephants, from the time they're calves, they've had fire thrown at them. They've had parents electrocuted. They've had tragedy in their lives, and elephants feel trauma. They hold on to it, and they have that emotional rage the way we do. They have vengeance, and so I was in a part of the forest where not that long ago there was a car driving with park guards, and the park guards were coming down the road, and this mother elephant came out onto the road, got scared for her calf. Came up to the car, they didn't respond correctly. She knocked the car over and started just smashing it with her feet. The car is upside down. And so these guys, it was like Jurassic Park, flipped the car over and started smashing on the bottom of it. And the only thing that saved him was when they hit the horn, she got scared by the sound and retreated. But she was just on this car threatened my baby, I'm going to kill this car.
Yeah.
So she just flipped it. It was like a little like I-10 or something. It was nothing.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's a video. I was just having Chris pull it up. There should be a newer one, Chris. It's like elephants having a funeral or something like that. But this gets me every time when I see this because it's exactly what you were just saying. Like they can feel things. There's a couple of videos like this. There's the one where they're having the funeral. Yes, that's it right there. I want that one.
Oof.
Now go cut like a minute in.
Oh.
Cut farther. Right here. Yep. 116. Play that. Yeah, this is nuts. Just play it. The volume's good. But they all like take, and this isn't even the one I was thinking of, but they all like take a minute over the corpse, and like you can see their expression change.
Yeah. Yeah, look at them with the trunk up.
And it's so, nature takes it away in an instant because everything eats it, obviously. But you can just see that. You can see their ability to feel real pain. I mean, look at even how they're holding the leg delicately over it.
Just caressing it.
Yes, it's amazing. And then there's another one, Chris, if we can pull it up, of mother elephant baby dies.
Oh,
this is so sad. But you can see like the tears. Yeah, the top one right there. Basically, this in Africa, this baby is not going to make it. She's tired and isn't taking down food. You got to play it, and the mother is there making the decision of survival. Like I got to leave her behind, and it's just brutal to watch. Cut ahead to like 3 minutes.
Is that a real shot?
Yes, this is a real shot.
Shit.
I'm gonna give you the. Sorry, Chris. I took this away at the beginning. This is gonna make your life way easier. That fucking thing sucks. See that? It's like now it's.
Yeah, I see. I don't want to see it, but I'm seeing it.
It's on the ground.
I'm seeing it because you're showing it.
And
to
the
me.
mother's just like trying to comfort it. And then cut like 30 seconds ahead, Chris. Right there. Yep. And now it's coming to the realization that she's going, oh my God, every time. Like, as a human being, you watch this, and I feel the same way I do about human beings. You watch this poor little elephant taking its last breaths, and the mother's there to witness it.
I wonder what it's dying of.
It was dying of, like, starvation.
See, and that's why I'm not a wildlife filmmaker.
Look at that shot, man. Oh. And, like, I know some people, they'll get on them like, how could you just sit there and capture this and not go help? Look, it's nature. You can't go in. You capture this so people can see what it's like out there.
Yeah.
You capture this to tell the story and show what these animals are made of. And you see this mother basically, like, holding a mourning ceremony as her baby takes its last breaths. It is fucking heartbreaking, man. Look at the tears.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's not... I don't know how you look in the eye of a creature like that and kill it. I don't care who you are.
No, elephants are different.
It's unfathomable to me.
Again, the term non-human beings. They are as complex as us. They're incredible. That's a horrendous video. I would have, the minute I saw that thing struggling, I would have been like, I'm no longer a wildlife filmmaker. I take care of this elephant now. I just, that's like that's actually my Achilles heel, is that I wouldn't be able to make it through that. I would just like put my camera down, hand my hat, and be like, guys, I live here now, taking care of this baby elephant.
See, I'm with you. I think it's important that we do have people who are able to stomach it, though, so you can see it.
I agree. We need both. We definitely need both. But for me, if I saw that, no.
Crazy.
That's terrible.
The other one that gets me is whales. They're so fascinating to me. I've never seen a whale. I've never been out there. It's definitely something I want to do. But, learning through Dax, who we had in here, your buddy, who's awesome, he obviously has done a lot of work with Sea Shepherd and Paul Watson, who's now separate from them. And, it's pretty crazy. Paul basically...
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Paul basically saved some of the whale species. I remember last podcast I had you on, you talked about that. I never put two and two together back then, that it was basically like him who did it through some of these whale war stuff.
Are you sure about that? He's separate from Sea Shepherd now.
Now he is.
Really?
Yes. There was like I don't know what happened there. Dax is still friends with both of them, but I didn't ask. Because
I don't know those guys that much. The Sea Shepherd people, but I know that I'm pretty sure he was one of the founding members of Greenpeace.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
I know he got kicked out of there. And then I think he was the founder of the Sea Shepherd. I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but then
I think you're right again.
Kicked out of there too.
They had some sort of there was some sort of disagreement on where some money was going, and but I didn't really ask Dax for details.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to know those details. That's like that episode of Succession where the kids try to take out the father. It's like, nah, you don't do that.
Hey guys, real quick, if you're not subscribed to our other YouTube channels, we have 3 total channels besides this one: Julian Dorey Clips, Best of JDP, and Julian Dorey Daily. They all have different content on it from the podcast, so the links are in the description below. I'd really appreciate it if you gave them a subscribe as well. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that guy's been at it forever, man. We have a video up here, Chris. I was just telling him to get it up. But this is, for people who don't know, that press play right there. It's perfect. This is like the kinds of things they would do. Get in the middle of these boats that are trying to go whaling and kill these whales, which is really brutal. But you see these boats, it's fucking awesome. These boats are like trying to attack them with water.
I mean, to actually do that, though, to take your vessel and to smash into another vessel on the ocean with the ocean moving.
Dude, it's insane. I mean,
you watch it in a video and it just never, like, if you were on there, you'd be shitting your pants.
Oh, my God. Look at how much it's moving. But this is what they did.
They were incredible.
And they still do it to stop these people.
The Bob Barker end,
from killing these. Do we have a video of the eye of the whale, Chris? I don't know if we have that.
But look what it takes. Look what it takes. You can write letters, you can petition, you can beg, you can plead, but look what it takes.
Yeah.
To stop them from murdering wildlife.
Murdering this. Right
murdering
here.
that.
Press play.
They're going to shoot a harpoon into that.
Look at this thing. Like, it's the same feeling with an elephant. How do you look at that in the eye and kill it? It could swallow you in one gulp. and you're just going to be like, yeah, I'll extinguish you from this earth
Oh, look how
for your
beautiful that is.
blubber. You know, like,
Look at that. Look at that lower jaw with all those folds that it can expand when they just take in that mouthful of fish.
Have you done any underwater work at all?
I have not done it. I've been so in the jungle that I haven't traveled anywhere for leisure, and I haven't done any underwater work. I would love to surf.
Yeah.
Even before that, I have so many friends that have gotten really good at surfing, and I'm just not there yet. I'm always on the ground. I'm always
got to go hang with Danny Jones. He'll teach you.
Yeah, man.
He's good at it. I would love to see you do that, though. I think you'd. I mean, I want to go swimming at some point with some of these animals just to observe it. But
so I have a friend who takes people free diving with whales. So you're with a snorkel and you're swimming. This is like out in Fiji, and you're in the water with the whales, and you're not, you're just on the surface of the water with your snorkel looking down, and the whales choose whether or not they want to come up to you.
like sperm whales, or
No, humpbacks, which are usually more friendly. And so, but she said these whales come up to the people. And here's the thing, if the whale starts talking to another whale, when they sing, the volume and all of the water is vibrating with the whale song. And she said that it vibrates every molecule in your body. And she said people a lot of times have to stop what they're doing and come up for air because they instantly start crying, because the vibration moves through them and it's so overwhelming and it's so beautiful that they can't handle it. It just immediately emotionally breaks you, feeling the whale song go through your body. Wow. I was like,
that's almost extraterrestrial.
I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want to go do that. I want to.
Yeah, sometimes late at night,
6 feet from a humpback whale.
Late at night, if I'm like really baked, I'll just watch orca videos. It's like an obsession of mine. I'll just watch these fucking things. And orcas, obviously, they're the killer whale. Like these are some, they know how to get some lunch and dinner, right?
Dude,
but
when they
they're
go,
still,
when they go under the.
Oh yeah, dude. It's fucking like, and they're so smart, and they're so like when you get and you can't experience it through a goddamn TV. Anything like when it's there, but it's even amazing through the TV when they get the underwater footage of them talking from like, I'll forget some of the distances, but sometimes like a mile or two away, and they can completely have this conversation with each other to find each other. There was some reporter, it's all getting mixed up now, who like embedded himself with the orcas, on one of the, what's the island between Africa and Antarctica? Down, it's like halfway. I forget the name of it. Maybe we can look it up, Chris. But he like embedded himself with this orca community, and they filmed. I think it was scientists.
Yeah. Through
him, were filming and following this family for years and years and years, and the things like they watched this family of orcas grow up and everything, and obviously that taught us a lot about what their abilities are, but I still feel like we haven't even scratched the surface of what they can do.
No. And the thing that freaks me out, the most recent thing that I saw that was very confusing to me, was that there was one thing where an orca comes and asks people for help. This I forget how it went. This orca came and was like swimming around this boat, and they just got the message somehow. They're just like, they're like, okay, yeah, let's go. And this orca was like, come on, let's go. Brought them, and the mother orca had her tail caught in a fishing net. And then they called in the Coast Guard, they called in experts, they went in, they cut her off. But this younger orca knew that the humans could fix this human problem and went to somewhere completely out of sight to go ask the humans for help. Think of the implications of that. They know that. They're walking around with that knowledge, swimming around with that knowledge. That's scary. If they know that much, think about that. Like, oh.
And then if it turns on us because of what we do to some of them.
Well, now they're fucking with the boats.
Yes, now they're literally eating through the goddamn motors. Do we have a video of this? Orcas eating through motors of boats?
I don't know a lot about this, so maybe I shouldn't be. Is it funny, or are they like murking people too? Or are they just kind of messing up property? Are they like vandal orcas?
This one. Go right there. See, they start like coming up, and they've learned how to eat through to where I'm going to get my terminology wrong for all my boating people out there. I'm sorry, but they learn how to eat through like where the rudder meets the engine or something. And
or are they just biting off the rudder?
Well, the scientific implications, it's all happening by the Strait of Gibraltar. That's where this has happened a bunch.
Yeah.
But the scientific implications are that they're wondering if orcas are teaching other orcas
course.
pods around the world
Yeah.
how to do this. Almost
what are
like
they getting
DARPA
from
sharks.
it? What are they getting from it though?
I don't
They're
know.
not getting fish off these people.
Well, I think it's the implication is that perhaps they're pissed at humanity. Still too early to tell, to be clear.
I would buy that they're mugging us. You know, like elephants. Elephants will mug the banana guy in India 100%. They'll stop him on the road, push his truck over, take all of his bananas. What can he do? They do that all the time. They do it in Thailand too.
That's awesome.
And then I've spoken to fishermen who like they put those long lines down and they have like fish on they have like lines of hooks. And I know the orcas come and they raid those and they know exactly how to do it. And they know how to do it without getting the hook in their mouth. They'll like grab the fish and just twist it off and leave the head. And like they're so smart. So my question is, why attack a boat? Why risk injury? Why pursue? I mean, I know that they have fun, but what at the end of the day, if there's not fish on the boats, you think it's just a generalized revenge for humanity?
It's scientifically way too early to say. I just wonder speculatively if that is
They're
a possibility.
Just pissed. Like that
Yeah.
elephant. They're just like, what?
Yes. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I wonder about that because we know how intelligent they really are.
I mean, they certainly are teaching. I mean, that's the other thing that people don't realize, is that animals have culture. Like one of the most classic examples, the first time I ever actually heard of it was that there's certain dolphins that'll chase the fish up onto the beach, and then the dolphins will come up and hydroplane onto the sand and catch the fish. And if they don't teach that method to other dolphins, then other dolphins don't do it. And so by definition, it's culture. It's a way of doing something. It's a habit that you teach others, and then they keep doing it. It's something you pass on, and it's not something that's just a naturally occurring, encoded, instinctual thing that just all dolphins do. It's something that a few dolphins learned how to do, and now they're telling all the other dolphins. It's crazy.
And it's crazy how fast some of that can happen too. What's the smartest animal you've encountered in the Amazon?
Smartest animal in the Amazon. The thing is, in the jungle, you don't get the type of interaction that you have with animals is very, very brief. So, not that long ago, we were watching an anaconda that had just swallowed something, and it was in a stream, and we're filming this anaconda, and we're like, I bet he ate, like maybe it was a young capybara, maybe it was a paca. We're just trying to gauge the size of this lump, and we're trying to see how big the anaconda is, and we're trying to keep our distance, not to scare it. And then we hear this big rush of air onto a branch. Look up. There's a juvenile harpy eagle, this big. Sits on the branch, pure white, looks right at us, looks at us, looks at the snake, looks at us, looks at the snake. And I was like, holy shit, just take a picture. You're like, this is never going to happen again. And then I took out my phone because I'm so sick of people being like, that never happened. Pixar didn't happen. So I took out my phone.
Oh, fuck those people.
No. Because you know what? It's everybody. After I did all the
I'll take
podcasts I've been
400.
doing.
I'll take that never happened for 400, Alex.
Yeah, that. And no, I went to a family barbecue this year, and one of my uncles, my godfather, first thing he goes, but does any of this shit actually happen to you? He goes, is any of this shit true?
Your godfather's a YouTube commenter.
So I took my phone and I went, Anaconda, harpy eagle. Anaconda, harpy eagle. And I was like, same video, because no one's going to believe it. No one's going to believe it.
Did you post that one?
I posted
on your subscribe channel, right?
I did.
I think I saw that one. I don't know if I have that.
Actually, no. I just put some harpy eagle up on the
That's
the main
what
feed.
it was. Yeah. If you can, you're not gonna find that video, Chris, because that's on a private page. But if we could just pull up harpy eagle, people could see what that is.
They're huge. They're absolutely huge.
How big do they get?
They get huge. So their wingspan, 6.5 feet, 2 meters.
And what do they feed on?
They can lift howler monkeys out of the trees.
Oh.
They can lift sloths out of the trees. And sloths are bigger than you probably think. And so these animals are lifting entire. Look at the talons.
Whoa.
Look at that guy's fist. Chris, do you see the one with the guy's fist down almost lower center? There's a man's fist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
That's what people don't realize about a harpy eagle.
Whoa. Do we have a video of a harpy eagle hunting?
Snatching. Harpy eagle snatches sloth.
How big does sloths get again?
Sloths get big.
I was going to say, they're not small.
Big. No, it's not like a cat. It's like It's big.
Harpy
it's like a
eagle
small
kills
kid.
sloth.
It's like a 3-year-old.
Perfect. Yeah, click that one.
When was this filmed?
Oh, it's coming through. Oh, I love sloths. This is so hard to watch.
Oh yeah.
Nature is me.
Boom.
Oh!
Boom.
Yo, is it dead on shot? Like, does it kill it with its claw, or is it still alive?
I hope so. I mean, you saw the size of those claws.
Imagine
so that's
just
like
imagine you're a sloth. You get just scooped. You're still alive, and now you're being dragged 200 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Clawed to this eagle that's going to go.
I would very much want to be dead by the time I got to the nest, though.
Oh.
Because then they're going to take that razor blade and they're just going to start doing surgery on you and pulling things out of you. No, they're savage.
So they eat monkeys too?
They eat monkeys, they eat sloths, they'll take whatever. I actually know someone, a local, who he was rehabilitating. He adopted this baby howler monkey, and this howler monkey was with him. And they're very affectionate when you take in a howler monkey. They cling to their mothers and they wrap their tail around your neck and they want to stay warm. And
you adopted one too?
I've done that, yeah. And so this guy was working with this howler monkey and came to love it. And as the howler monkey started, because when they first leave their mothers, they get malnourished, they get emotionally distressed, and so it wasn't doing well. And so he put a ton of work into constantly being with this howler monkey and feeding this howler monkey, sleeping with this howler monkey, getting it back to good health. And so one day he took it on a walk, and they were out in sort of a clearing, and he let the howler monkey walk up this tiny tree. It was just a sapling, so he knew it would be safe because it was just a sapling. No. It was right there. And this harpy eagle murked the monkey and flew away with it. That's the jungle.
Oh, it's so difficult, man.
It's
that is so mean, because they're like little humans.
Oh yeah, they're so adorable.
They're like little humans. Yeah, I just sent that picture over to Chris. Yeah. There's you with the howler. There was a video.
That's a spider monkey. That was a little spider monkey.
Chris, I'm using your computer over here today because we had to hook mine over there, but yours is stuck to the left, so I can't pull up videos. But if you can use mine and go to Paul's page and go under the subscriber tab, there's a ton of videos in there. There's one of you, under Reels. Oh, I guess it doesn't let you do subscriber on
the computer.
On the computer, that sucks. But there's one with you walking with the howler.
Yeah, that was, I think, on the subscriber list. Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
Well, because you know what happens if you touch an animal, someone complains about it. So it's like I've gotten to the point now.
Oh, fuck those people.
No, you know what though? Because then what happens is one of those people works on the board of whatever organization, and then they actually find a way. I'm just saying, when it comes to holding animals, I've actually been, because then also people misunderstand it. Some people will go on vacation then, and then there's a guy with a monkey on a leash, and people can't see the difference between this person adopted this animal, lives in the jungle with it, and is trying to rehabilitate it just long enough that it can get back onto a tree. That's story A. They can't differentiate that or being at a resort and there's a guy on the beach that has some captive abused monkey on a leash. I'm going to take a picture with it so I can get a picture with a monkey. And so the people have a really hard time differentiating, this is professional wildlife conservation work and I just want a picture with a monkey. It gets so weird.
I understand that, but when you have when you're someone like you and you have the resume you've lived in the Amazon since you were fucking 18 years old. There has to be a line somewhere, and the fact it does bother me that you have to get bothered by some of it, because we talk about this offline too. Like, you're constantly like, well, I got to be careful how that looks, and you shouldn't have to say that at all. I know your intentions. Anyone who listens to you and knows any of your story knows your intentions, and if someone doesn't, how do we solve that? Like, how do we change that culture?
We just got to all start doing whatever if you're doing good work, the last thing you should have to do is answer to people complaining from their mom's basement about the work that you're doing.
Agreed.
And that you get tons of that. You get absolute tons of that. I think Bill Maher just did a piece on Mr. Beast. All the people criticizing Mr. Beast because he's building wells in Africa, and like people being like, how could you go in there and just try to fix everything? He's like, well, I'm doing what I can. I'm doing what I can too to help.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, that's we don't worry about it too much. It's just with social media. It's just, and that's why it's so much fun having the subscriber thing, because it's a little bit more like, I feel like the people that are there, are people that want to be there.
Of course,
you don't get the Karens. Nobody there is ever like complaining at me about where the main feed now. I don't know how you deal with the numbers that you deal with, like the the amount that your channel has grown, do you ever get sucked into it? Do you ever get sucked into like a comment section?
On YouTube? I answer all my comments.
Do you really?
They're all useful. Yeah, 80% of them are negative, but I get the engagement. So I respond back, and then they give me another comment. It's great.
Oh, so you're harvesting something off of them.
Very much, yeah.
Okay.
I might as well use them.
How was our last one? We must have gotten a lot of comments.
Yours was actually
I think we got good comments,
very
though.
positive.
Right?
And then the ones that weren't good were funny. They'd be like, I'll take 400 for that shit never happened, Alex. Stuff like that. But nah, yours were pretty positive. Some of them get, every viral video I've ever done, the comments are 90% negative. It's kind of funny.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's different ways you can respond to it.
As long as you get something off of them.
But it's also easier for me, though, too, because I'm literally just a content creator. I do a podcast. It's not that serious. You have an organization. You have a mission. You have a 501c3, essentially, right? You need people to not only recognize the importance of your mission, also have complete awareness about it as much as you can so that you get more of the former right there. And also, your reputation within the community, unfortunately, is very important. So, and I say unfortunately because people can decide to run with a narrative about you as they did in 2014 with Eaten Alive, and then it costs your bottom line, and it costs you to be able to do what you righteously want to do.
Yeah,
pisses me off.
No, and conservation is savage. I mean, if that's true that Paul Watson is not with the Sea Shepherd anymore, that is crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. And so, yeah, you do constantly in this world, you constantly have to. There's a lot of, you would think that everyone that's trying to protect the earth would be like, shit, man, we're up against like a global systemic problem. We got to just join together. And it's the opposite of that. It's game of jungles. It's all the different conservation organizations are trying to, jockey against, which is why conservation is so unsuccessful in a lot of places, because it's individual organizations. And so, Julian's conservation organization doesn't make friends with Paul's conservation organization. And so that's why what Dax is doing is so cool, because he's somebody with the resources. He's somebody with the vast networks. And everyone's always going, oh, how come the billionaires don't do something? It's like, well, here's one that is. Yeah. He knows exactly what's wrong with the planet. And here's what he does. He listens. He goes in and he says, okay, you've been protecting whales for 50 years. What's the most important thing we have to do next? What are you working on next? What's the most crucial thing that'll save the most amount of cetaceans? They tell him, he does it. He goes with them. He goes on the ground. He goes out onto the ocean. He came with us to the jungle. He figures it out. And that's what's so important. That's where I think he's really groundbreaking, because I haven't seen that type of support before. I've seen people writing grants to organizations, and they spend years and thousands of hours putting together these huge grant proposals, whereas Dax has the ability, Professor X style, to just come in and pick out the best, to go up to someone like Jane Goodall and go, okay, look, how can I help? Or to come down to the Amazon and go, okay, how do we protect this river? And to that type of
it's good leadership.
It's incredible leadership. I guess he brought that over from, he already, with what he did with Lightspeed, I guess you sort of have to learn that type of leadership to create. Like, sometimes the scale of what he did doesn't occur to me until I go back and I go, you really look at what he did and what he built to get to the position that he got to. And now he's actually using that.
He's putting all his resources into what he cares about. And I wish we saw that all the time with people. It's like, with great power comes great responsibility. And, he seems to be all over the board across conservation. Like, it's not any one type. He's doing everything from you to Sea Shepherd to, there's another one he's looking at right now with a friend of mine. I'm not going to say what that is, but totally different, right? Yeah. And I think that's important, but what's also important is that type of example builds that culture, because you're kind of in a lose-lose, right? You either try to get attention on things and have everyone scream, well, that's the only reason you're doing it, to get attention on this. Oh, look at me with an animal. Or you don't get attention on things because you're afraid that that's what's going to happen, and then no one fucking knows about it and no one cares, and you don't get any money and funding.
Yep.
That, it bothers me. I can imagine how much that's got to bother you.
Yeah, but in the last year, after I did your podcast and then everything that happened as a result of that, we've seen such an inspiring, massive result of people going, this is how we can help, then let's do it. Nobody wants polar bears to go extinct. Nobody wants the Amazon to disappear. Everybody theoretically wants to help these things, but doesn't know how to do it. And so connecting people to these problems, giving them a way to help. And that's what we've been doing with Jungle Keepers. Our monthly subscribers have gone up by so much. And there's people all over the world now that are literally directly allowing us to protect forest. I was down there 2 weeks ago, and we literally we were going upriver, and we found this horrendous spot where they had hauled I want to say 30 ironwood trees out of the jungle. They'd cut everything to the ground. They had a logging mill going, heavy machinery, and
his Instagram, Chris. Keep going.
And
that first video,
you see
right
that heavy
there?
machinery? That stuff has never been there before.
Click this one.
Like that. People don't realize that's a new road. Look at it. It's barely even flat.
Yeah.
The trees were cut, the land was burned, and now they're smashing it out with that thing. And then people are going to come in with chainsaws and they're going to do worse. And so we went up there, and again, for people that are listening for the first time, Jungle Keepers, we work with Peruvian indigenous conservationists. It's totally Peruvian-led, and Peru has some of the most important part of the Western Amazon. And so we go out there and we talk to these guys. And we actually said, so what are you doing? Why, is there any way that you will stop murdering this forest? And they actually said, you know what? They said timber prices have been dropping and we cut all these trees and we really don't want to do this. And they were totally open to the idea of stopping. And actually, Jungle Keepers is taking over the operation. We just added 2,000 new acres to the reserve. This is the thing. Instead of treating these people like enemies, instead of looking at loggers and being like, they are evil, we go have a beer with them.
Yeah.
And then we make friends with them.
Change hearts and minds.
Yep. And then we find out that they're not making that much money and that it's really dangerous logging and that we could pay them more to be a ranger. And so we build a ranger program. And then we tell people all over the world. I come on podcasts. People find out about Jungle Keepers. And we're protecting 50,000 acres of the rainforest. And we need to be protecting 300,000 acres.
That's what I'm saying. We need to add another 0 to that.
Yeah.
Because the rainforest is roughly 27 out of 31 times the size of America, something like that. It's damn near the size of the U.S. continent,
it's
mainland continent.
Mostly the size of the continent of the U.S., yeah.
So how many square miles is it? I forget off the top of my head, Chris. How many square miles is
I know
the Amazon rainforest?
The estimate is 400 billion trees. I know that.
400 billion. All right, yeah, 2.7 million square miles. So you want to protect at least 500,000. That's a nice chunk.
I want to protect 300,000 acres, which is actually
300.
It's a teardrop in the ocean.
But still, that's
nothing.
1/9. That's 1/9 of the. Or wait, no. You said 300,000 acres.
300,000 acres.
I was thinking miles.
No,
sorry.
Much smaller. Much smaller. It's one river. We're trying to. I'm a big believer in pick one problem, solve it.
Yes.
Then move on to the next problem. And so my entire career from age 17 until 36 has been protect this river. That's it. And so the last year...
the Madre de Dios?
The Las Piedras River that runs through the Madre de Dios, yeah. And so this last year we've made a lot of progress forward, it's been our biggest year.
What does that look like when you say we made progress forward?
It means hiring rangers. It means working with loggers to stop logging operations. It means jumping in and talking to some indigenous landowners that are trying to protect their forests. You have indigenous people. One guy was protecting this area, 22,000 acres, and he'd been protecting it for 30 years. And a bunch of people came, and we didn't know why they came. They started cutting forest. They cut maybe 6 or 7 football fields of forest. And so we went, I go with JJ, and we get there, and these people are there, and you can see them scurrying as we're walking up. They're hiding the chainsaws, and they're doing all this stuff, and they're throwing on some, native-looking stuff, and they take out their bows and arrows. But still, we're like, are we about to get shot at with bows and arrows? And so I put the drone up, and I wanted to see what we were dealing with. And so we go over them, see how big it is, see if they have weapons, whatever else, and they start firing bows and arrows at the drone. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. And then we fly the drone up. And we see that we thought it had been, maybe several acres that they deforested. And then behind there are just all these patches that have been ripped out of the jungle. Just boom, boom, boom. So we finally go up to them, and only because, we have an indigenous team leading in the front, we walk up to them, and they got their bows out. And they go, welcome to our village. Welcome to your village.
Thanks.
And we have the landowner with us. He's got the deed to the land. Welcome to your village. Okay. Where are you guys from? They're from 1,000 miles away. Okay. What are you doing here? And they said, no, this is our village now. What are you doing here? Okay. So we had to come in and support that local landowner what happens is that it's the narco traffickers. The narco traffickers realize that if they take poor people, because when we said the math didn't add up. It's kind of like
Wait, are you talking not Mexican narco track?
No, the Peruvian ones.
Okay.
We were right on the Peruvian, Bolivian, and Brazilian border, so we're on 3 frontiers. And what wasn't adding up was, why are these people coming out into the jungle and cutting down forests? Now think about it. Hold on. So let's just say it takes $700 worth of gasoline to get from town that deep out into the jungle, and then it takes $1,500 to buy a chainsaw, and it takes this, and all of a sudden you're up at thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're looking at these people, and they're living in a grass hut, and you're like, why are they? The narco traffickers realize that if they have outposts deep in the jungle with people that support them, it's much easier to move contraband and find safe houses. So what they do is they start establishing these networks, and then it's double secured under, they're just loggers. There's lots of illegal loggers. Why are you going to go after them? And it's like, And so we realized what this was. We spoke to the Peruvian police, and then they were able to help the situation. But you literally have indigenous people fighting to protect their land, and no one's out there to help them because you're past the point of law enforcement. You're so far out in the jungle
once it gets,
that it's just whatever happens. It's just no country for old men. Whatever happens next happens next. There's no help coming.
Like, how far into the jungle, for example, is your research station?
It used to take us... You would leave from town and go by boat, and you'd have to travel. You'd have to leave at 5 a.m, and then around 6 o'clock at night, you'd have to stop all day on the boat, sleep on a beach on the side of the river in the jungle, and then go same thing the next day. 2 whole days by boat, going upriver just to reach this research station. That's how deep in the jungle it was. Then they cut the Trans-Amazon Highway and a logging road over it, and now we can reach it in like 5 hours. Roads change everything. Roads are
But it's also
kryptonite.
the problem because they're...
Oh, no. I hate that road. That road is the worst.
Because they're cutting everything down. When they... So, what's the name of that road again?
The Trans-Amazon Highway.
Okay. So the Trans-Amazon Highway, how long is it right now, approximately?
It goes across the whole continent.
The whole continent?
Yeah. I mean, you could literally drive from Lima to Sao Paulo. It crosses South America. This is the first time in history that there's a land trade route from the heart of the Amazon to Asia.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's been called the single most detrimental human project that has ever happened.
This is it right there? It's got like bridges and shit too?
I think that's probably closer to some city. I don't know. That's probably on the Brazilian side. I've never seen that. When I see it, it's just a road.
How wide is it? Like a regular road here?
It's a 2-lane road. It's a 2-lane road that goes for thousands of miles.
But that's thousands of miles of trees they're cutting down.
Trees they're cutting down, and then to make the road, they had to bulldoze into the virgin Amazon rainforest. And so
what's the virgin Amazon rainforest?
I'm saying, think about this. 30 years ago, when the World Bank and Brazil and China got together in the IMF, and they all decided, let's just have like a global planet eater summit, and they forged out into the Amazon. They were going into places that no one had been before. And so as they're bulldozing their way through it, it's the movie Avatar. There would be indigenous groups, and they would just, shoot them. Or they'd
shoot them?
Yeah, or they'd bulldoze past them, and then the indigenous people would throw rocks at the bulldozer, and then they'd shoot them.
Are these uncontacted tribes you're referring to? Or
some of them were just native Indians.
And they just shoot them?
Yeah, with the violent, I mean, there's definitely examples where loggers on our river are shooting at the uncontacted. I know that what I read about the creation of the Trans-Amazon Highway was that as they made this highway, that people then were flooding in behind the heavy machinery. And those people wanted to get land. And so again, it turned into like sort of this manifest destiny thing where it was like, we're going to come out here and we're going to occupy this land. And so as the story always goes, there'd be indigenous people out in the jungle, and all of a sudden this heavy machinery would show up and a bunch of guys with guns, and they'd be like, this is our land. And they'd be, no, it's not. And then a lot of these cultures would be so sensitive. They would have have lived in such isolation that they would have immune systems that had no defense against what we have. living in the Western world, connected to the modern economy. We've been in New York City subways. We have an immune system that people living on a remote island aren't going to have. No. So they have not built up that immunity. And so what happened was, which actually goes right back to Graham Hancock, entire tribes were wiped out from like
during the building of this.
during the building of the Trans-Amazon Highway, yes. And that's why many people have called it the single worst human project on nature that's ever happened. The amount of trees, wild heartbeats, indigenous cultures, actual human lives, absolutely horrendous.
But it's in the middle.
Look at that picture of all the logs. I actually want you to save that picture for me. Down to the left a little bit. Left. Yep, right there.
What is this?
That's what we see. That's what I see.
Oh, yeah. I've seen you take videos of this.
Yeah. Because then off of the main road, they call it the fishbone effect. You have these little dirt roads that come off. And once you build a road.
Like estuaries, yeah.
Yep. And once you build a road, then everybody can get in. And once they can get in, because if you take a person and try to have them go through a jungle, it's impossible.
Yeah. That's actually something I wanted to ask you about. So, and you describe it in your book. Sometimes there's like trails, right, that you're in. But then other times, you read about Percy Fawcett and stuff. It's just a grown jungle into itself. So you got to machete your way through that shit, right?
Yeah. I was out with, I had brought some people to the jungle. Me and JJ, we have Tamando expeditions. We bring people to the jungle and we do everything from, we have the world's tallest luxury treehouse to some people are like, literally they sign up for like Paul trips where they're like, we want to go do what you do. So I've just been like, yeah, come with me. And so we were out out at night with these people and we're out on this trail. And one of the guys was like, yeah, the jungle isn't that bad. He was like, I thought it was solely, and he just started like, and I was like, okay. I was like, cool, guys, we're going to cut from this trail to that trail. I was like, so we're going to be off trail for a minute. And I could just hear the people behind me in the dark. Because when I go, I'm not going to hack through we're in the dark. You have 150 feet of canopy above you and I'm walking through the jungle.
Jaguar right there.
And I don't use a machete because we're in a conservancy. We're in an area where we're protecting the rainforest. So I'm on the trails. I use a machete to maintain the trails, but this is not a trail. I'm just doing this for fun. So why am I going to go hacking?
So what are you using? Your teeth?
No, you just walk through it like an animal. So when they went, and so I got a tail of 10 people behind me like ducklings. And so everyone's at night in the jungle. And now all of a sudden there's vines on them. There's caterpillars falling out of trees. There's leafcutter ants. There's bullet ants. There's snakes. And all of a sudden they're not on a trail anymore. And the tempo of the group, like the happiness level of that group,
falls.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Then we made it out to the other group. Now this is the thing: why did I enjoy that so much? That's
you love seeing people out of their element because you know so much, and all of us are sitting here pulling our asshole out to the sunlight at 5 a.m. every morning.
Legs over your head.
And you're like, come on, bro, just get out in nature. Actually, come see this shit.
I do think though that I think that this is it. I think that I spent so many days, especially as a teenager, where I would go out, and today made me think of it because of the way it's raining. But like, if I wasn't here right now, it's like hurricane flooding all over like the tri-state area, right? Mm-hmm. I would be out in the woods. The mountains are just exploding like the streams. I could literally see places where there was like cars parked because they wanted to see if the bridge was going to hold. Like the rivers and the streams are going crazy right now. Mm-hmm. Today's a perfect day. Get your little backpack. You get one sleeping bag. You get one book of matches, and you get a flashlight and a knife. Now go out into the woods and make it till tomorrow and try to make fire. And it's such a good meditation. It's such a good, humbling experience because it doesn't matter who you are, how good at surviving you are. Getting a fire started today, very difficult. Finding shelter today, very difficult. On a day whenever the wind is blowing and the rain is falling, and you're going to spend one horrible, wet, sleepless night on a rock somewhere, and then it's going to teach you. And that's an important perspective to remember. It makes you feel better about your life every day. It makes you appreciate your couch a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
sometimes I give that to people.
In an environment like that, though, around here, if you had to do that, how would you spot a place to sleep?
Well, the cool thing here is that there's rocks and mountains, I mean, up in the Catskills, actually finding shelter, you could fashion something with pine or find an outcropping of rock. You could probably find a dry area. To me, surviving in the, eastern North American forests would be, even in the rain, even in December, I think I'd be quite happy with that. Easy. You're not going to sleep on a bullet ant. I'm happy.
In the Amazon, though, it's a whole different matter because you pitch your hammock and stuff, but then you got to get a mosquito net. You're sleeping in the middle of fucking jaguars and all these animals. Is it possible to pick a spot where you're like, this is safe?
No.
Yeah.
No. If I put you out in the jungle, if I put you out in the jungle right now and give you a machete, which again, I'm bringing
a 45. Sorry.
It's not going to help you. What are you going to do? Shoot a tree?
Oh no, I'm going to shoot the fucking jaguar if it comes at me.
You're going to be shooting at ants because what's going to happen is you're going to get lost. You're going to get tired. Your flashlight's going to run out of battery. After like 4 or 5 hours, most flashlights start blinking.
I'll bring my charger.
Bring your charger. Okay. And then you're sitting underneath a tree now and you realize I can't sit still because of the mosquitoes. And then you're going to spend a few hours walking around in circles and maybe you make it to the next morning and you don't stop walking, but at some point you got to sleep. And that's where the jungle starts to be the jungle because the first time I got lost out there, fell asleep underneath a tree and my flashlight was on its last legs and I cleared out underneath the tree and I slept there and you're just covered in ants and termites and mosquitoes and flies. And then you get bot flies. And they lay eggs on your skin that burrow into your skin. And then you have worms in your skin. And now you're just a host and the jungle's eating you and you're just
I like this podcast studio.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I had 6 bot flies across my stomach for most of May and June. And
just living there.
We couldn't get them out.
You just wake up in the morning and be like, morning.
Yeah, they wake you up in the morning because they start eating. So they start twitching. It's awful.
What are they eating? Your skin?
They're eating your skin. That's why they live in you. It's warm and there's food.
Oh. Are you immune to a lot of this shit now? Like, are you not necessarily that, but like mosquitoes and shit? Do they still bother you when you're out there?
Mosquitoes don't leave a mark anymore. Sandflies don't leave a mark anymore. I've JJ also we've kind of evolved to the point that our skin doesn't get upset by the mosquito bites. But the botfly, if you could pull up what a botfly looks like coming out, close up of a botfly coming out of human skin, it is awful. And you wake up to that.
How big are these things?
Anything from like a raisin. That middle one right there.
Oh,
yeah, that's it. The if you see the video of that shot.
It's in it. It's in the skin.
No, click on it because that's actually a video, and this thing is pulsing out of this human skin. So the mosquito lands and it drops these. Yeah.
Is that it? This is a botfly.
Hit that.
All right. Cut ahead right there, right there. So that's a botfly. What we saw was that it was its head.
So this thing is going to catch a mosquito in midair, deposit its eggs onto the mosquito, and then let the mosquito go find a host, whether that host is a bird or a human.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
Yo, you ever see the movie Tremors?
No, maybe. That sounds familiar.
Giant underground things and Kevin Bacon. See, look. This is what happens.
Oh! And then they burrow into this. Oh my! Oh no! No.
So look.
Nope.
This is how I would wake up every day for 2 months.
Nope. Mm-hmm. Nope. I'm good. That is fucking disgusting.
That doesn't work.
And
you
JJ,
can't do that.
JJ, what about like a match? Can you just burn your skin?
You can do that. You can spray Raid on your skin. That'll sometimes kill them.
Yeah, that seems healthy.
That's great, right?
Yeah, it seems awesome for you. Sprayed a lot of Raid before, never on my fucking self. That is
it's awful.
Awful. I read about a bug, I think it was in David Grand's book.
The kissing bug.
Lost City of Z. Where the kissing bug. Is that what they call it? Where it will literally fucking land on human lips, sting you, whatever it does, you're like, and then you're good. And then randomly 10, 15 years later, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
Like, this is what you're up against in there.
That's terrifying.
How many of those things exist, though?
How many of those things have fucked around on my lips while I'm asleep?
Yeah, I'm
just gonna fucking die.
You're gonna fucking keel over right here. Is there like an antidote we can get for that or something?
Or can you check if you've been kissed by the kissing bug?
I don't remember if you.
I don't know
think you
if you could take a test and be like, okay, I'm gonna drop dead in about 6 minutes.
I think that was the implication. You can't check it.
No, I believe that you cannot check it.
How many insects do we not even know about in the Amazon?
Millions.
It's that high.
Okay, so at some point we had to talk about it, the treehouse. So everything you're saying about and I'm going to plug this thing because it's so damn cool. Everything that you're saying about the Amazon and how do we survive there, so you have this, on the one hand, you have beautiful wildlife, and then you have the extreme conditions. And so we were saying, how can we find a way for people to be able to see the beautiful wildlife without experiencing the extreme conditions? And either you turn it into Epcot, which sucks, and there's plenty of places like that where you can go to a big lodge where you don't get to really experience the jungle, or like what you just clicked on, we made the world's tallest luxury treehouse, which
this thing is amazing, man.
Up above the canopy, 110 feet, looking out over the Jungle Keepers Reserve. You have air conditioning, running water, toilet, everything you need.
How often have
Even
you slept
hot water.
there?
Oh, me and my girlfriend spent like a week up there.
Oh, that sounds romantic.
Like we're like, we didn't even sleep inside the structure. We just
never left.
We never.
Yeah.
In the daytime, you want to go down.
Oh, and it even has a mosquito thing around it?
Yeah, so you're in an air-conditioned room with a mosquito net. So you're like triple safe.
So you're fucking without the mosquitoes. That's good.
You don't have mosquitoes there, but we were not in the room. No, I put a.
You did it on the wood.
I want to see the stars, man. I want to see the stars.
This is fucking amazing. How long did it take to build?
About 3 months.
That's it?
Yes.
Build that thing all the way up there.
But we have a team right now that's insane. We have
Who's your team? Spider-Man?
JJ, Mosin, Stefan, my friend Lee. We brought in this team of guys that builds tree houses all over the world. We got Pico, Victor, they built the staircase, went up in a spiral. The first half of the cost of building this thing was it was like building the pyramids. We had to bring it from the river up to the thing, and then this spiral staircase started going up towards the canopy.
Did the wood weigh fucking 12 tons?
I did try carrying one of the beams that they used to make the staircase, and it was a 15-foot, I want to say 6x6 of tropical hardwood. 15 feet is like this room.
But this wood here is very similar.
But 6x6. This is a 2x6.
Right.
So you're talking about like a pillar.
Right.
That thing weighs.
It's like some Noah's Ark shit.
300 pounds. And these guys were putting it on their back, single at a time, and carrying it up
the spiral staircase that they built.
No, not the spiral staircase, but up from the river up, because this is like a promontory above the river.
What?
This is a place where the terra firma forest ends, and then the land drops down into the river basin. So
okay, in English.
The reason this tree looks out across the rest of the jungle is because it's at the edge of a cliff. So
it's not that high up.
It is. It's a very high tree.
It's high up, but it's not high up off the ground below it.
It's double. It's so here, look at this. Here's the jungle. Here's the tree. But then the jungle does this. We just chose a big tree that was 140 feet tall.
So you still
it's a huge tree, but it's at a spot where the jungle goes down.
Nope. This is even scarier. So my question is though, did they use a crane to fucking build up there? Or they built a staircase and walked up to the top and started hammering?
No, this was all ropes, pulleys, people. We had like an ox cart that we had. We had an amazing team.
Did they have a platform up there that they could stand on?
No. The first time we climbed the tree, it was just ropes. The first time that tree was climbed.
You people are out of your fucking mind.
Dude, we had to climb up the vines on the tree to get to the top.
You like Tarzan climbed up vines?
Yes. 100%. That's how we got up to this tree.
This is Darwinism at its finest. I don't know how you guys aren't dead.
There's actually an even bigger strangler fig in the forest, and we were out on a hike a few weeks ago, actually, and I had never seen this tree before. I found a new tree, and this tree completely covered in strangler fig, and I look at this tree, and I'm like, oh my God. It's so easy to climb. Like, it's not like it's big, juggy, handholds, plenty of footholds, and I go from 0 to the canopy, 150 feet up. I'm on the same eye level as spider monkeys. I literally get up there, and this spider monkey looks over at me. You can just tell he's like, "Wait, what?" This spider monkey did this double take. He was like, "What are you?"
Fellas, they can climb.
Oh shit! But it's just crazy because some of these trees have such. And as I'm climbing too, I'm going, okay, this is like I'm like free soloing a Amazon tree, and I'm going, is this? To what degree am I putting my life in danger right now? And I said, this particular tree was so easy to climb. It was like a ladder. I mean, yeah, it's 150 feet, but 2 points of contact.
So you don't get afraid of heights?
I get afraid of heights if I'm not in control. Now, if I stuck my hand in a hole and bees came out into my face, am I dead? Probably. But if nothing goes wrong, You just, if you sneeze, you die. No, but this is completely safe. The guys who made it made the architects made it so that the spiral staircase is completely closed in. Everything's at regulation height. This you could bring, toddlers up there. This is anybody could go up to the treehouse. And that's the point. And that's the point, is that a lot of the people that want to visit the Amazon and don't want to suffer through the bugs and the mud and the blood, you go up here, you go in the air conditioning, get brought coffee in the morning, you take some pictures of macaques flying across the sunrise, and it's a much chiller way. And here's the interesting thing. We've never had access to the rainforest canopy like this. Traditionally, if scientists wanted to access the canopy of the rainforest, you had to shoot an arrow with a piece of fishing line over it, pull your ropes, climb up to the canopy. You're on ropes, you have helmets on, you're swinging between the trees. It's something you can only maintain for a few hours. This is a time now you can actually sit in the canopy, spend time up there. So the information that we're going to get, we're already seeing, I can't actually talk about it yet, but we're seeing species up here that you don't see on the ground.
You can't talk about it?
No, because
what are you,
we haven't
code of silence?
Because we haven't published anything yet.
Oh.
We're seeing species up there that we don't see on the ground. I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
But we're seeing things
I'll
that
make
we
sure
don't
the
even,
recorder's just on.
we don't even know what they are. We're adding tons of bird species. This was just every morning.
Now, if you had a logger terrorist who was pissed at you and they wanted to come cut down this tree, how fast could they cut through the trunk down there and everyone up top is dead?
If they had a really nice,
a nice one,
like a nice
I'm
logger.
a nice terrorist. I got a lot of money.
Like any respectable one, probably 4 hours. I mean, it's a big goddamn tree.
You'd be able to get down before they did it.
The bottom of that tree would not fit in this room. The bottom of that tree, you'd need four of this room.
That would have been a real hole in your tourist attraction. So how's this for a headline? That is crazy though. That view is
that view when you wake up to that, or also the Milky Way.
Is that a painting?
What?
Why does that look like?
All right, it's happening live, everybody. Julian Dorey is calling bullshit on my treehouse.
No. I'm wondering if that's a real picture then someone painted over.
No. It's a drone shot, and I think it was very low light early morning, so the picture's smooth.
Don't you have a video of it?
Somewhere there's, I don't know where, but it's there.
All right, we'll find. Is there a video on YouTube of it?
Bullshit.
No, I wasn't calling bullshit. I thought someone had painted that for you.
No, nobody painted it.
Interesting. Yeah, that wow.
No, it's really insane. I've never seen. Again, it's a new level unlocked. I've been to canopy platforms and you walk up in the middle of the day and it's hot, it's 3 p.m. and you're standing on this thing and you're sweating and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. You look, you walk, okay, great. You go back down. The wildlife is out at dawn and at dusk. Most of the wildlife in the Amazon is crepuscular. And so.
What?
So there's nocturnal, diurnal, and crepuscular. Nocturnal's at night, diurnal's in the day, crepuscular is in the in-betweens and the transitions. So
they don't identify as nocturnal.
Exactly. Okay. For the in-between species, like a leopard is crepuscular. They're active at dawn and dusk. That's their prime time, and that's most species because that's when in the morning you get the rush. You hear it at 4:30 in the morning. All of a sudden, the howler monkey, you hear howler monkeys going off, and all of a sudden the parrots start up, and then the macaws and the toucans, and it's just everyone starts turning on, and you hear all the calls coming across the jungle. Yeah. It's insane. We would wake up, and there'd just be that red sun coming up over the horizon.
That's amazing.
And the whole jungle's turning on. It's just like a symphony. It's so exciting. The first day I woke up. I woke up and we'd put the alarm and I was like, yo, we'll get up at 5 in the morning, right? Nobody wants to wake up at 5 in the morning. And I opened I looked and I went, holy shit. We look at the sunrise, the sun, it's a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. What the fuck are we doing every day? We wake up, we wait until it's 9 a.m. before we get outside. It's when you look at the sun coming around planet Earth,
it's got to release some amazing hormones in your brain. Seeing that.
Also, it's again, what world are we in? We forget. Listening to all the birds wake up. You're it's roll call. It's all right, morning, toucan, macaw, flycatchers. Everybody's sounding off. Everybody's starting to communicate with each other. The monkeys, you hear the branches start shaking because the monkeys are moving. All of a sudden the whole jungle turns on and it's holy shit, the lights just went on planet Earth. And
it's like a
everybody
symphony.
Starts moving. Yep.
It's
and
amazing.
The crazy thing is at night you can hear when things start winding down and you start hearing less toucans, less macaws, you start hearing less cicadas, and then all of a sudden you hear that first rant. You'll hear the first frog, and you're like, it's nighttime. It's coming. And then like the tinamous will come, and they're like a type of whistling bird. And all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. They just changed shifts and went from day shift to night shift. It's so crazy. The jungle, you can hear that change happening.
That's incredible.
It's absolutely insane.
What is a macaw again? That's the one you
Macaw
keep
is
saying
the
I can't
largest of the
place.
parrots. Macaw is just a big, colorful parrot. I believe there's about
Can it
16.
talk?
They can say some words. But I don't actually think that rate's really high on the list of animal intelligence because that's just really just mimicry. They are
it's not
very
high on
intelligent, very intelligent birds.
Because parrots aren't very smart.
Parrots are very smart, but it's not like primate
but
or
it's
cetacean
exactly.
or.
Wow, so
That's
if you
a
had
red
just
and
shown
green.
that to me and not said macaw, I would have said, oh, it's a parrot.
Well, they're the largest of the parrots, so all
I thought I misheard you. I thought you said like
all parrots are
they're like a
macaws, but
parrot.
not all macaws are parrots. No, that's the inverse. Don't listen to me on that one. Anybody?
They are beautiful.
They are beautiful. That's a red and green, blue and yellow.
And what do they eat?
Nuts. They'll eat a lot of Brazil nuts. They're also endangered pretty much throughout their range. So we used to have macaws like through Mexico and Belize and down through Costa Rica. And of the 16 or 17 species of macaws, I think most of them are endangered or extinct. Spix's macaws, which is like the movie.
Why is that?
Because as soon as people realize that native cultures have always used those feathers. Christopher Columbus actually brought a few pairs of macaws back to the Queen
God
of Spain
damn it.
to
Of course
show that he had come to the New World. And ever since then, people have been obsessed with their plumage. It's such beautiful feathers. You got these, 2 or 3 foot long, beautiful tail feathers. And so people want macaw plumage.
Is there anything that guy didn't kill?
The other thing that we're seeing on our river right now is that they're cutting down the ironwood trees. And so these macaws, the red and green macaws, nest almost exclusively in these ironwood trees. And so you have a 1,000-year-old ironwood tree. Just look up a red and green macaw. It's the first one that you pulled up.
Red and green macaw ironwood tree?
You could try that, yeah.
Okay.
Probably, I feel like I'm the only person on the internet talking about it. It's probably just going to be. Yeah, there it is.
First one?
Yeah, the first top left is an ironwood high res, yeah. Dipteryx micranthia.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so you need an ancient ironwood. You need a giant, massive 1,000-year-old, 500-year-old ironwood tree, because that's the type where the branches break off and it makes a hole, and the macaws nest almost exclusively in that hole. But now, once they identify that as a nesting site, generations of macaws will use it. And each year, only 17 to 20% of the macaw population reproduces because there's limited real estate. So when a logger comes in and cuts an ironwood tree that has a 700-year-old macaw generating hole in it, they've cut generations of macaws down. And so the population is exponentially affected. And so there you go. That's something we see all the time in the Jungle Keepers Reserve. We'll see healthy, ancient ironwood trees that have macaws just coming out of them.
So sometimes I have trouble picturing this because I'm not there and I can't see it. But unfortunately, you've seen a million times over a tree get cut down out there. And these trees 150 feet tall. All kinds of species living in it. How much of it is creatures die on the fall of the tree because they're stuck in the tree and boom, they're dead, versus creatures die because their home is taken from them and then they have nowhere to go?
It's both. I mean, if you have an ironwood tree like that, you have literally thousands of species living on it. Reptiles, amphibians, birds, mammals, lichen, leafcutter ants, bees, wasps, everything. There's so many things living on this tree. And you got to think, if that tree is 1,000 years old, when Columbus, World War I, World War II, doesn't matter, whatever you can really think of happened, that tree was standing in the forest. And so that complex ecosystem has created this skyscraper of life and this is where, once we lose the old growth forest, first of all, that's where most of the carbon of a forest is contained, in the ancient hardwoods. That's also where most of the biodiversity is. And so once you cut that, it's going to be 500 years before you get another one of those. And so that's why protecting the forest that's already ancient, before it's too late. You hear people about, we have to replant the forest, we have to reestablish. That's fine. That's important. In a lot of places, it's important, but you're never gonna get back what you had. It's like your family dies in a bus accident and somebody goes, oh, we'll get you some more humans. It's like, it's not the same.
But also, I've repeated this on so many podcasts since you've been in here, because I think it's something we all need to think about that I was unaware of until you told me about it. When you're talking about the wood that is used when they're taking these trees down and then, it's being used in product. You had said you had one guy who is a donor towards Jungle Keepers who's a major contractor, and he's talked about how if you used new tree wood, so trees planted in the last 30 years, you'd have to, and you used it for a house, you'd have to replace the base of that house within a decade. Whereas it's the old trees that actually will hold the house up forever or for a very long time. And so even if you are planting new trees back, you're planting trees that take a long time to grow, a long time to form strength, and you're not solving the problem of, oh, now here's trees you guys can come knock down, because they're still going to go knock down the old ones, because those are the ones that are actually most vibrant for them to be able to do what they want to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're valuable for the humans and the wildlife. That's the problem. We both want the same thing. Just like in South India, humans need a lot of space, elephants need a lot of space. It's the same thing. It's a clash of. But that's where I have to say, after 17 years on the front lines in India, Africa, Peru, in the Amazon, at this point, there's so many people doing such incredible work that we can fix a lot of these problems. If you can, at this point, if we can't shut down the ironwood tree market, we can't stop people from going out into the Amazon and cutting down massive. If you look at an ironwood tree, if somebody said, cut it down, it's not easy. And by the time
Do we have a video of someone trying to do it?
If you try it, I don't know.
Let's go to YouTube and try someone
if you
cutting down ironwood tree in Amazon.
Or just cutting down giant tree in the Amazon. I don't know. I bet you there's not a video of it. Killing how forest is faring under deforestation. ABC News' Matt Gutman.
Yeah,
I was on that one.
He's the homie. Video. He's a good guy. Thanks for hooking it up with him.
Yeah.
We'll get him on at some point.
I was going to say, did he come on?
No, we had a conversation about 5 days before the Israel war broke out, and then he got sent there. So I was talking to him right when he was trying to get there. They had shut down the airport, Ben Gurion, in Israel for a while. He was at one point, until they opened it back up a few days later, that first weekend, ABC sent him there right away. He was stuck in JFK, then they sent him to Miami, then back to JFK. When he was talking with me, he was like the last plane, or one of the last, I think he was the very last plane that landed, and then they opened it back up like 3 or 4 days later, I think.
I forgot about that, because what happens, I go into the jungle, and then it's like the wormhole. I forgot that. I put you guys in touch.
Yeah.
And then, he's insane.
He's amazing, dude.
Time.
Yeah.
And what sucks for him is that he just came out with a new book. He published his book, and everything is promote. When you publish a book, you got to be on it. You're trying to make New York Times bestseller list. You're trying to promote your book, and they're like, goodbye. So his first month book out, he was on a huge assignment, and also it's, again, I'm not even going to start with being involved in a war, but to voluntarily leave the safety of your home to go witness it, to tell that story.
He's amazing.
Takes a certain type of person.
Yes. I mean, that dude covered the second Intifada and all those years in the early 2000s. He's obviously, you came across him because he goes into some of these wild danger zones. And, that was the ultimate compliment too. When you were talking about him, hey, this guy's actually good. Because you've come across so many people who are like, hey, happy to be here. Yeah, but he's legit hands in the dirt with it.
I've worked with so many, everything from Discovery Channel to just every type of interviewer, podcast, news outlet, everything over the years. And first of all, most of them can't handle it. Him and his team, he came with 3 of his close friends. If they were in the room right now, we could chill with them. They came out and they were like, what are we doing? They're like, we want to go see Burning Forest. Let's go see Burning Forest. We'd just go out. We would look for smoke on the horizon and then just start gunning it for that. We'd just try and find a road that got us to the Burning Forest. No fear, just film, whatever else. And the thing I really loved about them was I said, I caught a snake. checked what species it was, and I was going to put it back on the tree. And I was like, oh, guys, I was like, I could just put it on this, thing so you can get a shot of it. And Matt looked at me dead straight in the eyes and he goes, would you put it on that tree if we weren't here? And I went, no, I want you to get a shot of it. And he goes, no. He goes, we're here to film what you do. If you're not, and it was something as minorly cosmetic as, I'll just put it here so you get the shot. And he was like, no, do not change what's happening.
Love that.
Do not alter reality. And that commitment to that type of realness is just, that's cool.
And his book, I have to read it. I bought it, but his book apparently is all about, from being in all these different zones, some of the horrible, like, post-traumatic stress he has from it. And yet he is able to center himself to continually still do it and go capture this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really interesting knowing him and being friends with him, because we're like children together. Like, we're absolute goofballs. Like, if you look at we'd be like out there, like, and we were out with like Russian gold miners with, machine guns out in the desert where the Amazon rainforest used to be, seeing this horrendous shit that does stay with you and enter into your dreams and give you PTSD, all that stuff. And then we'd be like, he'd like look at me and we'd be, he'd be like, we'd be like waiting for a car and he'd be like, bet you I could do more push-ups than you.
Jersey guy.
Yeah, we had a lot of
Jersey
fun.
guy. Don't forget that. He's a Jersey guy.
Oh, yeah.
But what were we pulling up here? An ironwood tree video? Did we find
if there's
one
a video of anybody actually, I'm telling you, there's not going to be a video of them cutting down a giant.
Why I illegally cut down trees in the Amazon rain. Yeah, click that one. With a Brazilian tree guy. Or a Brazilian logger. God damn. Look at that's all trees they took out there.
Yeah, so this is what we see. This is every day.
And as you said, that's why I love what you. Yeah, there's the top, like you're talking about. It's
no,
like
that's what you were gonna say though. That guy seems kind of reasonable though, right?
What's that guy shooting?
I think he just shot a bulldozer.
But what I like about you guys is that you understand that a lot of these people, they don't necessarily, like the people who get hired to do it, they don't necessarily mean harm. They're trying to make a living. And so you treat them like a human, and you've turned a bunch of them into working with you guys.
Yeah.
And that's what Fun Jungle Keeper does.
I look at this guy and just look at his hand gestures. Yeah. I just think he's a hardworking guy. It's not easy. Look at him. He's like, I just want to. I'm just trying to defend our point.
Explain he doesn't. You don't look at this and go, "Wow, this guy's evil."
No, he's got kids. Like he's just trying to. He's just trying to put food on the table. And if you went to him and said, "Look, we'll double what we're paying you, and you don't have to cut down trees, but make sure this forest is protected," that guy,
he'll protect it.
And I guarantee you, he doesn't live out there because he hates the nature. Most of these loggers, you go, "Yo, stop logging." They go, "Stop logging." They go, "Well, what do you want to do tomorrow?" They go, "Let's go fishing." And then when you go fishing with loggers, that's what they do when they're not logging. And so you like go fishing with them. And it's like going on this amazing hunting trip with like some new friends. And it's like they love the jungle. They love tracking animals. They love looking for fish. They love finding big trees. They love watching me climb trees. They don't climb the trees, but they think it's funny when Gringo Loco catches a snake or climbs a tree. They're always like, "Oh, Gringo Loco, look, serpiente, go get it." And I go jump on a snake. And they think it's really funny.
I love how they call you Gringo Loco.
Gringo Loco.
It's kind of on brand for you.
That happened because I brought this one guy in a swamp. We were trying to release an anaconda, and this anaconda had been caught in town. It had been going after some of these chickens.
This wasn't Larry's anaconda, right?
You remember that story? Yeah. No, this anaconda had been going after some people's chickens, and we got in touch with them. And actually, even better, they got in touch with us. They reached out. And so we had this anaconda. We took it out into the jungle. We were going to release it in the swamp. And so I had clients with me. People would just come to see the jungle, see what we do at Jungle Keepers. And I also had this Peruvian guide. This guy, not JJ. JJ was like, "Paul, you take him out, do your thing." JJ was like, "I'm going to relax. I'm going to put my feet up tonight." I said, "All right." He goes, "Take this guy Anderson out with you." And I said, "Okay, And so he comes out with us. Fast forward to, we're all up to our necks in a swamp at night. And I'm getting this anaconda, feeding this anaconda out of a bag. And we get attacked by wasps in the dark.
Oh, that's nice.
So wasp lands on my head, stings me. And I'm like, don't freak out. I'm like, everybody shut your lights. They're attracted to the lights. So we shut our lights, but now we're all up to our necks in the swamp at night, in the dark, pitch black, where there are literally tarantulas walking across the surface of the water with an anaconda. And this dude, who's been a guide like his entire life, he starts climbing a tree in the dark. And I could just hear him, and he's going, fuck that, fuck that, fuck that. He's going, fuck that. He was out. And so when we got back to the station, JJ was like, like in his like PJs chilling at the station. He was like, so how'd it go, guys? We're all wet. We're covered in shit. We're covered in bites. And this dude Anderson just looked at JJ and he was like, es hermoso, pero es peligroso. Eso no es para mí. He was like, that's not for me. And he was like, ese es gringo loco. He was like, I am not going out in the jungle with that guy again. He's used to walking on a trail with his binoculars, with a med kit and a walkie-talkie. Yeah. Like he's a different type of, but then after he said gringo loco, now they all think it's fucking funny.
Gringo loco.
Gringo loco.
And we had talked a lot about not that much about the gold mines last time. We touched on it and everything, but I don't know if you can pull up some of that video, Chris.
Do Matt Gutman Matt
great.
Gutman.
Let's go.
Gold mining Amazon. Yeah. No.
So essentially, I had in another woman, Elle Scott.
But that was a lot of the influence of the outsiders coming in and basically telling them, well, you got to do this now. And so some of the things that has happened to a couple of the tribes in the past really kind of pushed, I think, these two over the edge and said, absolutely not, we are not having any contact. And the other problem is the youth that are being born into the Shuar community and tribe are getting glimpses of the bigger cities and leaving.
She was in episode 144, and she spent some time out in the Amazon last year and talked about when they came across the gold mines and how nasty some of the gold miners were. I think some of that she talked about on camera too. But this is like, you want to talk about taking out trees and barrening the entire land.
Yeah. Yeah, just type in Amazon after that. It'll come up. There you go.
That first one right there?
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna have to talk over this because it'll be copyright. Cut forward like a minute.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, right there. That's good.
Yep. So
this is in the Amazon.
This is the desert where the Amazon rainforest used to be. This is a spreading scar in the western Amazon. This is Peru. We were there. This was the day we were.
Dude, that was all trees.
We filmed this on the road. This is the Trans Amazon Highway. This is our shit. This is what we do.
That's your video.
Me and Matt were right there. Yeah, that's.
Dude, how many miles of land have they taken out for these gold mines now?
A lot, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres.
17%
of the total Amazon rainforest has been destroyed.
Dude.
Yeah. So look at the scale of that, and here's the thing. I go straight to think about how many animals are in that forest. When you wake up in the treehouse and you hear how many animals are in that forest and you realize it takes years to realize it. And then when you see that, you go, oh my God, you're losing so many heartbeats.
Is that the Trans Amazon Highway?
So this is the offshoot. This is the Trans Amazon is actually paved. I'm driving, Matt's next to me. And so we're actually going towards the Las Piedras River here. And this beaten up old Hilux. But this road that's a single Brazil nut tree out there in the distance because they're not allowed to cut Brazil nut trees.
Oh, so they leave one tree. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
Which a Brazil nut tree won't produce Brazil nuts without orchid bees. So that doesn't work anyway.
But how much? So there's basically like a lot of untapped gold, like a fuck ton of it. And so
okay, so the gold here, first of all, is terrible gold. It's also
how do you have terrible? I don't
it's
know
not like high. I don't either. It's not high carat gold. Like it's not high quality gold. But it's in the soil as powder. So if you dip your hands into the bottom of a stream and like swish the water around, you come up with like some gold dust on your skin, like in the creases of your skin, you can just barely see this gold dust. So what they do is they cut the forest, burn. Dude, I actually got scared at one point that like our skin was gonna melt off. It was so hot, and then these dudes.
And so they burn the forest down to do this.
Yeah,
and then the fire spreads.
And then the fire spreads. Especially this year, it was very dry, and this year actually scared the shit out of me because I just read this New York Times article about how the Amazon was going through record levels of drought. And they keep warning that if we push it too far, the Amazon could get to a point where the moisture that the jungle creates that makes the rain of the rainforest, you break that cycle because you've cut too much of the forest. And so they're worried that if we keep burning it, we're at 17 to 20% of the Amazon gone, turned into pasture land. If that cycle gets broken, when you wake up in that treehouse every single day, you see, I've heard this too, that over the Amazon River, which is the largest river by volume on Earth, over the Amazon River is a river of water in the air. There's literally a river in the sky over the Amazon River. Yep, look it up. So here, even over our river, even over this river, every morning, the mist that's produced by this river in the shape of a cloud, in the exact shape of the river, is moving over this. So each tree is pumping gallons and gallons of water into the air every day, pulling it up out of the ground, pumping it into the air. That's all collecting into rain clouds and then raining back down on the jungle. So above the Amazon rainforest is a larger invisible river in the sky that sometimes we can see in the form of clouds.
Whoa. And you talked about that before. We don't know. It's tough with all this, and you're talking about the one example with the moisture right now, but we don't know, for example, what the percentage of no return is, but how close, your question is, how close do you want to get to whatever that is to take your chances?
Not close.
That's the point.
Look at this. Look at here. This is one of the trees. This is an example. You won't see someone cutting a tree like this.
That's an ironwood?
That is a kapok tree.
But holy shit, look at how big.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is it that whole thing?
Yeah. It's so big. Look, to get a shot of it, you had to... This was very stressful getting this shot.
That's some Avatar shit.
That thing takes me about it took me 2 hours to climb it the first time I got to the top of that tree.
You climbed it?
Yeah, I did.
Like with a rope?
I did bring a rope. I climbed it like the way you rock climb, like every 20 feet putting gear.
Wait, are you attached or could you
Somebody
fall?
was belaying me from below. So as long as you go up.
They were doing what to you?
Belaying. So with lead climbing
He says this like I'm going to know this shit.
So if we're lead climbing, I'm going to get this wrong now. If we're lead climbing, I go up, let's say 20 feet, and then I put a carabiner into the rock, or in this case, on the vine. I would put a piece of webbing around and then put a carabiner. And then I would string my rope through the carabiner. So now if I fall, let's say you're belaying me, you got my rope. So you use this 30 feet of rope, and then I put some gear, and now you got me. I could sit back and let go of the tree. But then I climb up another 30 feet. Again, I wrap a piece of webbing around the tree, put a carabiner, put my rope through it. And so I inchworm my way up the tree, but you're always down here belaying me. So you're feeding rope as I'm going up and up and up the tree.
So if I stop paying attention, though, we got a problem.
Yeah, if you stop paying attention, we got a problem. And then eventually you get to the top of this tree, and you're standing on, I'm talking about like the oak. You could drive right now and try to find the biggest oak tree you could find. You will not find a tree that's even close to the size of one of the branches of that tree.
Oh, no.
Like branches so big, like this table, you can go walking on these branches. And it's crazy. So then I get up there, and then so now I have the end of my rope. And then what I would do is set the system up so that then you start climbing. And so I belay you from above. So then as you climb, I have you and I'm tied to the tree. And then eventually we're both on top of the tree, which is going to happen. I just told you a story about your future.
No thanks. I'm good. I'll stay down.
I think that's got to happen.
I'll stay on the ground with Uncle Jim and our weaponry and shoot anything that comes at us. No, but
look at this. You can see what a good job they did, though.
This is an amazing report. We'll put this link in the description so people can see it.
Yeah.
But do we know how they set these fires? They just like literally start a match and let it go? How do they do it?
Yeah. So me and JJ, JJ just everything. We said,
and we're going to get to JJ and the whole backstory there for people who haven't followed that, but you did describe who he is a little bit, but I want to get to that later, but keep going.
We see these burning fires, and here's the weird thing, out of sight, out of mind. If you go to somebody on the street and you go, if I'd say to anybody in town, if I go to one of my guys and I go, hey, how bad are the fires this year? And they're like, they're not, they're fine. Because you're in town. You're walking past pharmacies and coffee shops and whatever else. You're in this little gold mining town. You literally don't see over the buildings to the fires. It's happening out in the jungle. And so I said to JJ, I was like, listen, you know everybody. I said, find me someone that just cut down their forest and is like gonna burn it. And that they're gonna burn it because they want to plant. So they got to burn all the trees on it. So one of his relative of a relative had recently leveled this huge thing of forest. And so one of the guys on my team is a conservation photographer named Mosin Cosme. And so we went with me, Mosin, JJ. We go to this place where they had just knocked down all these trees. We're literally standing there. It's like 4 p.m. The guy just takes a lighter, holds it to the ground. The rainforest does not burn. You could napalm the rainforest and it won't burn, but cut it down and let it bake in the tropical sun for a month, all the moisture gets sucked up out of the trees. So this dude, this farmer guy, he just took a normal Bic lighter.
It's like propane.
Held it to the ground, and the largest campfire you've ever seen. Within 2 seconds, dude, we were there. First of all, our DSLRs were like flatting out. Like I've never seen a DSLR stop working. It was so hot that they were like melting to our hands. The drone wouldn't work. It was 70-foot flames. It was catastrophic in moments. And of course, even though the jungle's been cut, all the animals think they can keep living in the trees. So all the down trees still have lizards and birds and snakes and mammals living.
Even when it's on the ground.
So
And
you
then they just roast
hear
to
the
death.
animals running. Some of them just, a lot of animals, their instinct is to hunker down. You know, if you chase a snake into a hole, the snake's instinct is this bird or this fox or this predator can't get me in this hole. So I'm just going to stay here and you can't get to me. And a lot of the smaller mammals will do the same.
Is it like that old experiment with the frogs that they talk about, where if you boil a frog, it'll stay there and not leave because it doesn't realize it's getting too hot? Is it a similar effect with animals? Like they don't have, with some of the ones you're talking about, they don't have that fight or flight when the burning tree's on the ground. They're like, I'm going to stay in my hole, and then it gets too hot and they die.
Yeah, I think what happens again. I think a lot of animals depend on camouflage. I've literally watched a lizard be like, "You can't see me, you can't see me," and then the flames just take over. And then it's just charred. Like it's literally, it's like you know, Independence Day when they nail the Statue of Liberty in the Empire State Building, and just doosh.
Yeah.
This just once those flames go, and then so the crazy thing is, we watch the flames go up, and there's this horrible shot I got where JJ, he didn't know I was filming. He thought we were filming the forest, and I turned back at JJ, and I caught this candid moment of this man who's devoted his entire life to protecting the Amazon, and he's just got his hands on this log, and he's watching the Amazon burn. And I just had it on his face. And in the video, he sees me, and then he walks out of frame. But he was just having this moment where you could just see him taking in the destruction and it was hitting him and watching those flames go up. And then, you know, I'm concentrated on getting my shots, and Mosen's concentrating on getting his shots.
Mosen's awesome, by the way. I follow him.
Yeah, Mosen in those situations, there's only one person that I'll work with. And so that's like our thing. We'll go out and do firework together. It's very, very, very intense. And you really have to have the type of relationship with someone where you just, you get to that point where you play off each other. It's got to be that thing where you don't really got to talk. Like I'll see something that's interesting and he'll already be circumnavigating around me and like grabbing it against the sunset and understanding the angles. And he's, a real photographer. I point my camera at things and I try to get a good picture. He's actually making art in those intense moments. And, but on that particular day, you lose people, 70-foot flames and there's exploding trees. The sap heats up inside these trees. And so you're walking around and all of a sudden, boom, and this entire tree will shatter. And so there'll be shards of 8-foot splinters flying through the air. Everything's burning. Everything is ash. There's no oxygen in the air. And you take one breath of smoke, like that type of smoke, and you're down. Like I understand what firefighters go through. Like if you get hit with one blast of smoke, it will take you out. I say this because it's happened to me.
What do you guys do? Like, because when you're near this,
we run. We try to get our pictures and run. On this day, though, the fire did like this V-shaped formation, and I was looking over to the left, and all of a sudden I heard like one shout, and I just knew. And I go running, and I'm running over this log, and there's just huge fires. I don't know where JJ is, but I know that Mosen's in trouble. And as I'm running, his camera's on the ground. I don't see him. Pick up his camera, keep running. He got blinded by some smoke. I think inhaled some smoke, went running blind out of the fires into the forest, found a swamp, dove into it. Like there was basically just like swampy, muddy ground. And he just put his face in to just take the heat off of his face, ripped his shirt off. And then me, JJ, we all came in and like he was trying to remain conscious as we're squeezing muddy water onto his back and just like trying to cool his body. And anybody that works anywhere near fire is cringing right now because they're going a bunch of inexperienced people. Like you're going to die doing this. But I mean, that day
you got to capture it though. You got to show people what they're doing.
But that's the thing. If we didn't do this, now granted, we could have some better gear. We could do this with gas masks and probably survive a lot longer because
that'd be good for content. Not gonna lie.
Well,
Paul Rosolie with a gas mask out in the middle of the
work?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do. I do.
Well, I got to do something because every time after we do those fires, we're like that just took like 3 years off of our life. Like you feel it. You feel like less of a. That last one, it was like I would say it was a month before I was walking properly.
Oof.
Because we're out there and it's like you got to get that footage.
When was that one again?
The day I'm talking about with Mosin, that was a couple of years ago. Dak sent us down. That was the first flight after COVID, and we were like, it was 2 of us on the plane, and there was nobody else on the plane. We were on masks we had double masks and a face shield.
Oh no! You did
And then
face shield.
I watched the stewardess.
You survived in the Amazon for 16 years in your double mask and face shield on a
You
plane.
couldn't get on the plane. You had to be like quadruple vaxxed. You had to have like a vaccination needle sticking out of your neck. You had to have a double mask, and then you had to have this face shield. It was Peruvian policy, and so.
I would.
And then what I loved the most was I watched this. Oh yeah. Well, no. So me and Mosin, we're sitting next to each other, but you can't hear anything because the plane is loud. You got your mask on, and then you have the face shield. It completely. All the sound is out. So we're like writing things down, showing it to each other. We're using our phones to communicate because it's too loud on the plane and you're like shuddering through the Andes. And then I watched the stewardess and this guy is going like, in Spanish, he's going, "Can you get me a drink?" And the stewardess is like, "What?" He's like, "Can you get me a drink?" And their faces are getting closer and closer and closer together. And finally he just takes all the masks off and just goes, "Get me a drink!" He's like projectile spitting into her face. It was awesome. I was like, this is working.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna let it go.
Don't even linger. They were wild times.
Yeah, God damn
They were
it.
wild times.
But yeah, I do think if you did like some gas mask stuff, that gets people's attention.
Do you remember the documentary Gasland? That dude Josh
Yes.
Fox, because he played the banjo while wearing a gas mask.
Yes.
I think he was just standing outside, but I think the 2-pronged gas mask has that certain toxic look to it that if you're in the Amazon.
Because it is. Look what they're doing to this thing. Because when they set this fire, like the guy
mask.
with the Bic fire lighter, like he's doing this to wipe out all these trees at once so they can have barren land to mine for gold. But they don't know where the fire's going to end. It's just going to go where it goes.
They have absolutely no idea where the fire is going to go. They have no clue. Like they light it and then they just let it go.
How does it stop?
It burns out eventually. I did meet one woman though. One time we were at the fires, and see, I lose my mind. I start just running like crazy. I'm looking for animals that we can save. I'm just like, I'm trying to do videos where I'm talking directly to our funders or to. Whatever stuff. And this is how you tell people this story. So I'm trying to get the most insane moment of me in the fires, in the forest, trying to find these animals before they're burned to death. Because sometimes you find like an animal that's scalded and just needs a little bit of direction and help. And one time this bird was actually fine. I think she probably like flew into some smoke and hit the ground. And I just picked up this bird and just threw it like a baseball and it just kept flying.
Oh, that works.
It worked. It worked perfect. But yeah, there was local Peruvian firefighters there, and they're like pumping water by hand out of this like little red truck, and it's like spraying water. And
At least they're trying.
they were trying. And there was this woman there. She was the next farm over, and she was going, "What about the animals?"
How far is this from civilization?
I mean, there's like the little city of Puerto Maldonado, and then all around that is just this giant human footprint, and then every year it spreads.
Yeah, but how far the ones that they're doing right now, where they're burning down trees with gold? How far from what's it called?
Puerto Maldonado.
How far?
All around it. And the problem is the footprint is spreading. So it used to be that the jungle was this table, and then this would be humans, that little spot. And then now the humans is spreading and the jungle's getting smaller. And then this area of humans is spreading too. And then eventually all of those footprints start to get wider and wider and wider. And the jungle becomes less and less and less until it's not humans in an ocean of green. It's tiny islands of green in an ocean of humans. And that doesn't work.
And you had mentioned something about the cartels and like coming upon the village where they're like, oh, this is our village now. And they're using these as safe house places to basically like make their coke and ship it. Are they involved with the gold business though too?
The gold mining, the logging, it's all wrapped up together. Because the gold mining is its whole thing. The gold mining, because they go out there and they basically establish a place that cops can't go. That's what, when we went out with Matt, we went past, there's literally guys with machine guns. There's one road that goes to that area. There's guys with machine guns at the door. You can't get past them. We made contact with some miners. They were Russian miners, not Peruvian miners. Yep. And they got us right through the doors. They said, come with us. We got on their truck.
You come now.
Yeah, you come with us. He goes, you are Paul Rosolie, right? I was like,
No, he didn't.
Fuck. Yes, he did.
No,
Actually, no,
he
he's actually a really nice guy.
Is his name Vlad? Tell me it's not Vlad.
Despite the fact that they're miners, we were out there and he did that. He did exactly that. We were standing there and Matt's getting ready for his shot and talking to his team. And this guy comes up to me and he was like, is your name Paul Rosolie? And I was like,
this is how it ends.
Yeah, I was like, this is how it ends. No, he was being nice though. He goes, listen, I'm not going to do it in the accent the whole time, but he goes, you see those guys over there? He goes, you see those Peruvian miners, those rough looking motherfuckers over there? He goes, I just learned your name off of them. He goes, they know exactly who you are. And he was like, so be careful. And so he actually was doing something very nice. He was going, I just met you today, but watch out.
Yeah, you told the stories last time about like some of, I think it was your friend's dad was like filleted on a beach. But there was the uncontacted tribe ones, but also, I know what it was. It was the guy, the gold miners took him up boat in the river.
Yeah.
And then he was tied up and then they were getting chased by something. And so they made him drive the boat and he jumped off the boat and swam. Mm-hmm. And they were going to go execute him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He just said, not in front of my kids. And so they were driving him upriver. And they said,
who was that again?
I don't want to say his name, but yeah, it's a guy that we work with. Okay. And that's another one that was very entertaining looking at the comments of that video because everyone was like, there's no way that this happened. And it's like, there's no way that somebody kidnapped somebody to go kill them in the fucking Amazon.
It's not, there's no laws.
There's no laws. I mean, plus, look at what's happening all over the world right now. Like this shit does happen.
Oh, yeah.
And we know that this happened because he went missing and his hysterical family came to us and you can't fake that kind of trauma. His kids got woken up at gunpoint and were told that they were never going to see their father again.
Why had he pissed them off again?
Well, because first he was a gold miner. Then we made friends with him. Then we said, you should build a lodge. You should start doing eco-tours. And we converted him. He's a super nice guy. I was with him when the Peruvian special forces came down and they blew up his gold mining equipment. And as there was like hot metal raining down from the sky, we were like sheltered under a piece of sheet metal. And I was like, why don't you just do conservation? And he was like, all right, I'll give it a try. I was like, but no, super nice guy. But then he started helping us call in where there were gold mining sites. So he actually turned into like a narc for the gold miners.
They didn't like that.
And they didn't like that. And they figured out who it was pretty quick. And so then they just ambushed him in the morning and he was like literally in bed with his wife. They like burst in through the door, pulled him out by his hair, but then the whole story happened.
These guys know who you are though, and you show up to the scene when they're fucking doing it. Why don't they kill you?
Because I always show up with their friends. I'm saying anybody that, like, anytime I'm going to put myself around gold, let's say we're going to go upriver and we're going to go talk to gold miners. Well, I'm not going to just go. I'm going to do my research first. First of all, chances are that one of JJ's brothers is married to or has been married to or knows somebody who's married to a gold miner. Now you talk to that guy and you go, now, do you know anybody on the such and such a river that's doing gold mining? And I go, yeah, of course I do. Okay, let's go talk to him. You go talk to him in town. And there's something about being in town. You can call the police. You can share a Coca-Cola. There's like civilization. People act more civilized when there's pavement. There's something about the jungle where right away everybody's, So you can talk to a gold miner in town. Take him out to coffee. Say, listen, I would love to come out and see what you're doing. And half the time they're like, you going to cause any trouble? No, I just want to take pictures. What do you do? I'm an environmental journalist. They go, yeah, but then you're going to cause problems for gold miners. Like, yeah, in my country.
Not here.
Not here. We want to shut down the system and get you guys better jobs. He goes, I do have a terrible job. I can't keep doing this. We work all day long, all night long. My kids have to do it. There's mercury. We have to kill the whole forest. He's like, come out. You have to make that human connection with them. If you show up, if me and Mosin walk into a gold mine with our cameras and we just start shooting, then we're going to get shot.
Yeah.
100%. So it's all about how you approach it. I think that the places that we went with Matt, there's no chance you're getting in there without someone high level, which we had. But like our guys that we've converted, you got to know again, everything that we've done, all these stories I'm telling, anything I know about the jungle is only because I am best friends, I would say family, with a group of indigenous people that know their shit. That's it. And I always give the example, you take a kid fishing. You drive him to the stream. You bought the fishing rod. You found the worm. You put it on the hook and you found the deepest part of the stream and you hold their hands and you put it in the river and they catch a fish. It's like that. That's all we do. We take pictures of burning forests. We do all this stuff because they say, protect our forest. Here's what you need to know. This is where the macaws nest. That's where the anacondas stay. I'm just reporting the things I've learned from them. And so it's without that leadership, without that sort of wisdom guiding us, we would, none of this would be happening.
Who's funding the gold mining business in particularly? You said it's attached at the hip with logging. So where's the...
See, the logging is Chinese right now.
Okay, so is it the same on gold mining then?
No, gold mining I think stands on its own. I actually don't know. I don't want to speak to things I don't know. I don't know where the finances of the gold mining comes from. I see it on the ground where I see them. I mean, I've held them in my hands, these big chunks of gold. I've been out with the gold miners, and again, we're all just chilling. They'll burn the mercury off the gold, which, airborne mercury is really good for you. We're all like standing there like shit. But they'll have a lump of gold in their hand. And I'll be like, here, this is it. You put it in your hand and you go, wow, that cost us 16 acres of jungle. Holy shit. And you're just holding this. Now here's the other thing. This is the amazing thing. When you're sitting in a shack in the Amazon rainforest and everyone's got guns and there's a scale and there's gold on the scale and a weight on the scale and they trust you, but they reach out and they dump this thing of gold into your hand. The shape of the room changes. There is something about gold where we all understand the front brain, the surface. They're like, yeah, we're friends. You can hold my gold. It's fine. But if you think that everybody in the room, that their pulse didn't go up just a little bit, depending on who's holding the gold, where the gold goes, that everyone doesn't know exactly whose pocket the gold. It's just strange. Humans have this connection to gold. When I can think of it as sitting in a dark room. It's very strange. I've never seen that before. You see the dirt and the destruction and the burning forest, and they're working with mud and they're through the sloughs and mercury, and then all of a sudden, after all that work, you just have this incredibly brilliant thing. We're in this dark hut, and there's just this glowing piece of gold. It was like they get it right in Indiana Jones when he finds that little statue on that thing with the sandbag that he does. It's like when he comes up to it and it's kind of reflecting on his skin. You can kind of see it on his face. It's like when he goes, "Do you want to hold it?" I was like, "Precious." I was like, "Yeah, I want to hold it."
There's something about the fact that it's been sold as the story of wealth since the beginning of the human history that we know, but also there's a level to it of what you're getting at, which is you get something that beautiful from shit to get there that's that ugly.
Yeah.
Not just the way they get it. I'm not even talking about what they're doing, like, for example, to the rainforest just to be able to do this stuff. I'm talking about, like, you're digging with mud all over your face, fucking, maybe you're cold because you've been in the water all day trying to get to it, and suddenly in the middle of all this must and mold and whatever, boom. It's like...
Yeah. Well, it also is a reality bender because, look, you have to go... so it's very difficult to find. It's scarce, so it's valuable. If you can get your hands on it, it can accelerate how much wealth you have. So you might have to work for 3 years to amass that much value that you're holding suddenly in the palm of your hand. It's literally bending the laws of reality for you as a poor farmer in the Amazon rainforest. And so all of a sudden, your brain can't help but wonder, could I kill all the motherfuckers in this room?
Power.
Instantly, you understand an age-old human equation all of a sudden. Treasure of the Sierra Madre. All of a sudden, when you see the gold and you see people reacting to the gold, everyone's thinking the same fucking thing. Now, to us, a small amount of gold, we're going to have a few $1,000s, but to them...
Oh, it's like a new world.
Yeah, it's a new world. That you can get your entire family out of poverty. You can get your sick kid the medicine that will save her. You can, all of a sudden it matters. And literally, it's like you just feel everything bending in towards the gold because maybe there's people in the room, the main gold miners going, yep, this is a great piece of gold, throws it in his pocket and wants to go get it, change it into cash in town. Great. Maybe there's somebody in the town, in the room that has a dying relative and it's going, I need that fucking gold. If I could get that gold, if I could just get that gold. It's like the briefcase in No Country for Old Men. It's like it's cursed. Yes. It's laying out there. You can take it. But it's going to come with a price. What's
amazing. Funny is it's almost like it used to be the other way around. You talk about it now like, hey, you and me from America, we see it. We're like, oh, wow, cool. You feel something, but it's not the same as the people there feeling like that changes their whole life. When in reality, the way this all started, when the New World came over there, it was the New World who looked at it like that. And then allegedly, I have to say allegedly, but allegedly you had these cities across South America that were built of nothing of gold. And the people, it was just a part of life. It's like, oh yeah, there's our gold, there's our El Dorado, right?
I mean, I think that whether it's the Aztecs or the Incas, I think that gold was still very special. It was still reserved for the highest members of society. Sure. It was still prized, but
it's more omnipresent.
The way Europeans, but again, it was the same thing. The conquistadors got over there and they went, we have armor and we have swords, and they don't. And we could take their gold and go back to where we're from, and all of a sudden our lives get better. Let's just fucking kill everybody. Mm-hmm. And it's an accelerant. It bends the rules of reality. You can go from being, some lowly guy that they send out on a ship to go exploring to you could go back and be the Count of Monte Cristo. I come back with a ship filled with gold. Yeah. And so what did you do? What did they do? It turned them insane. They turned into psycho killers and murdered everyone they saw. I mean, Columbus, I may get this wrong, but I remember reading some journal of Columbus where they literally touch, they see land and they come close and the native people come out to meet them and they pull this guy up off this canoe. And Columbus is like, ask him where the gold is. And they're like, where's the gold? And the guy's like, I don't speak your fucking language. Like, what? And he's like, beat the shit out. And like, they're like destroying this guy in the first 5 seconds of meeting him.
So fucked up, dude.
And it's
the
like,
stories of that guy.
They're yelling at him in a language that he doesn't understand, asking him where the gold is. And he's like, what's that? You got to think he's a coastal, tropical person. Yeah. Maybe never saw gold. Maybe he's not an Inca king. It's like they're interrogating a guy for something they have no way of communicating. Like, it's madness. They just showed up and they were like, give it to us. Back to Independence Day. It's like when they said to the aliens, what do you want us to do? And they just go, die. It's like,
yeah, I mean,
what do you want? Gold.
It's like it's the symbol of conquering, right?
Yeah,
just like, I mean, we're talking about poaching earlier. That rhino horn's really worth nothing. Now, if you believe it's worth something medicinally, knock yourself out. But there are businessmen, let's say in a certain part of the world, that will buy the rhino horn and stick it on the middle of a table before a giant corporate meeting, and it's just known as this symbol of power. And that's why they did it. They don't care that fucking creature had it hacked off of it, had its horn hacked off in 45 seconds and was left there dying to bleed out in front of its little calf. Yeah. They don't care about the habitat that they're ruining that's not a part of their country or their continent for that matter, by the way. But it's this thing. It's like, I have it, you don't. I am above you.
Mm-hmm. Status symbol.
Yes.
Now, I wonder, because these are highly educated people that are working in a complex office environment, finance. I'm wondering, just like the gold miners, if there's a way to appeal to their humanity, where if you took that guy from that board meeting, who knows, brought him out to the savannah, brought him out to VETPAW, out to Buffalo Kloof, and showed him a dying mother rhino and said, do you still want the horn?
Yeah.
50-50.
They don't have to see it. Just like if I went and bought this wood from the Amazon, which you told me today I didn't, so I feel better about myself. But if I bought this wood from the Amazon, I didn't have to stand there while they cut it down. I didn't have to watch all the animals die. I go to Home Depot, it says $25 for a piece of wood. Let's fucking go. Let's build a table. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that one's more evil because they know a creature was hacked to death to do that, right? So there's something different there. But there's other things that we take for granted, and I myself included, in day-to-day life, that we're like, we don't stop to think, damn, I wonder where we got that and how we got that.
Oh, yeah. But that's, I mean, the classic one is everyone talks about where we get our cell phones from.
Oh, yeah,
the
fucking cobalt
mines and everything else. And then the other one I love is everyone, when I was in college, it was we need the electric car to save the environment. And then now we have the electric car It's part of the car economy. But what are those batteries made out of? And where does that come from? And where does the power come from that goes into the electric cars? Oh, it's the same shit. We're using fossilized sunlight. We're still just like the trees in the Amazon. We're still just trying to get that sunlight.
We find a new way to be destructive, even when we think we're being less.
I do think that this is adolescence, though. I think this is a.
What do you mean?
I think it's that as a global society, we're going through a period of adolescence. There was like the Dark Ages, and then there's a Renaissance, and then now we're going through this period where it's like, okay, humans are global. We can communicate with everybody. And notice we're exactly global at the time when human rights stuff, we're really starting to, like, the humans are starting to recognize that, oh, we're all the same. And there's a lot of people fighting to just make that a universal truth. Now, there's still pockets where that's not understood. But gradually humans are, because in the past, these are untouchables. These people are slaves. These people are that. Okay, but now we're coming to this new spot where humans are humans, okay? And now we're starting to realize, okay, wait, we actually depend on the ecosystems. If we have clean water, then we can have free fish. It comes standard with life on Earth. And it's like, if we can just, okay, so the Industrial Revolution, we were like, whoa, we have bicycles and we have motors and we have all this stuff and we could shoot at each other. And it's like, we just discovered a bunch of really cool stuff. And I feel like right now what's happening is people are buckling down and going, wait, how do we maintain a world where we can continue to have awesome medical care and planes and entertainment and all this amazing stuff that we have now, but just not kill the living world around us? It's a pretty good deal. You get to have everything in modern society, but you just got to let the earth continue to provide for you. It's really not a bad deal.
But you got to show people what the cost is.
It comes down to education. It comes down to connecting to people on that human level. It comes down to guys like Dax who are at the top of the finance game going, okay, we're going to push these projects that so badly need that support that never had it to the next level. And then it comes down to guys like you being like, what are we going to spend our time talking about? We're going to entertain people with what? You know what I mean? Like, we could be talking about the Kardashians right now. We're talking about ironwood trees and macaws, and it's like, and people will tune in and watch it. And it's like, just the fact that people will come away from watching the Julian Dorey podcast going, I never knew that, or even just the idea that you could take a guy like a gold miner and just fucking be friends with them.
Yes.
Dude.
It's a human. That's the thing. I think most people want to do good.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to point them in the right direction. And I'm so serious when I talk with you and Ryan about this all the time. I really want to do more with getting conversations on here with people who are around the world in different places doing important shit. Because one of my favorite things about you is you have such a realist view on stuff. You're not one of these guys saying drink your Hydro flasks and take your fucking shitty straws and that's going to save the turtles. You're out here going, all right, let's be realistic. Let's figure out how we can get people to want to be a part of things rather than take away things from people all the time. And that's those kinds of voices, because you know how it is sometimes. Sometimes you get people who may have the right intentions with conservation efforts, and they're like, we have to sell our houses, live in people aren't going to listen to that.
No.
But I want to bring through the people. I want to bring through the Paul Watsons of the world who've been there, on the front line. I want to bring through the Paul Rosolies of the world and the Ryan Tates of the world who are doing it. I want to talk with these people because also, let's call it what it is. At the end of the day, we sit down for a few hours, we do a podcast. It's probably going to end up being 2 today with how long we're talking. But I sit down with any of these people. The people who are listening, they also get entertainment out of it.
Yeah.
And when you mix entertainment with a good cause, great things happen. Period. End of story.
Yeah. I mean, in the last year, we've seen such an uptick. And again, for anybody that's just tuning in now or just hitting this as a clip, Jungle Keepers, the organization that I represent, that I founded with the local indigenous partners that I work with in the Amazon, our mission is to protect pristine forests that is filled with millions of endangered species, wild habitat, heartbeats. And this has actually been how we reach people. We tell stories on podcasts. We do interviews with, we like ABC News, but getting the message out for every 100,000 people, 3 of them are going to go, you know what? Let's support that.
That's it.
And then you get 3 people, and some of those people are single moms who have 2 kids, and they go, you know what? I got a message from a mother. She said, I'm a single mother. I can't give you guys more than $5 a month, but I'm going to give you guys $5 a month because my kids love wildlife, and we love your Instagram. And I'm like, I'll try to curse less. I was like, shit.
Nah, you're fine.
Nah, I know.
But that was those were some of the coolest comments on our
those are
last
some of the
episode.
most
People
amazing
like,
thing.
I don't have a lot of money, but I just gave $10 to Jungle Keepers because of this. I'm like, that's all you got to do. Thank you.
Because I remember growing up, I've been on both sides of it. I remember being like, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years old and seeing the heartbreaking commercials on TV where they'd have like, Sarah McLachlan and a dying polar bear on oh my God. And I'd have to leave the room. Like it really affected me. I'd be like, holy shit. And they'd be like, polar bears are going to die unless you send us $20 and get this stuffed animal. And I was like, but where's the money going? You know what I mean? Like that was always the hang up to me. And that's what so many people come to me and they go, how do I know where it's going?
What was the first, when we had I like to call it the Great Chicky and Pete Summit of 2022, you, me, and Ryan, the night before we recorded with him, what was the first thing I asked you at the table? I looked at both of you and I asked you one by one the same question.
I don't remember.
You'll remember it when I tell you.
Well, tell me.
But I said, okay, I wave a magic wand. How much money do you need to solve the problem you are currently working on? You immediately both had a number for me at the time. And then I said, okay, I give you that money. Where exactly does it go? You both had a full answer right there to the point. This is exactly what it is. This is where the cost would go. And here's how much we might have left over to attack the next thing. Mm-hmm. So many people can't do that with these with their different causes.
Well, because I think
key.
A lot of times it's not problem and solution based. It's sympathy based.
Yes.
For example.
Yes.
I mean, I just came back out of the jungle and everybody's sharing. I had to throw my phone because the shit that people were sharing from like the war stuff that people were sharing. I'm sure you've seen the same shit.
Oh,
where it's like, this has to be the first time that footage like this is coming in history. Like where we can just like we're sitting here seeing this footage and it's like we are suddenly so connected to everything.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, what I see is like people latch onto these causes where it's like, we have to protect the environment. Well, what environment? Which part of the environment? Do you want to protect a river? Do you want to protect the air? Do you want to protect birds? What do you want?
Yes.
What environment? That's too broad. Let's save the earth from what?
Good luck. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I enjoy the Jordan Peters thing where he goes, make your bed. Because half the people haven't made their bed and they're complaining about what world leaders are doing to protect the world. And it's like, if you start with that by that logic, though, if you look at, okay, I want to do something to make things better. Well, what things do you want to make better? And then you look in your own backyard, and it's like a lot of the people doing very inspiring conservation work. And I try to stick with the things that I know. You see people planting native species of plants, and why is that so important? Bird migrations, hummingbird migrations, insect migrations, the bees, the monarchs. There are animals moving all across the landscape, transporting seeds and nutrients. We depend on them. And as we build roads and bridges and towns and cities, it gets in the way of that. So just the simple act of learning what species grow in your region, because people, harried people come to me and they go, what can we do? The whole world is dying. We want to do something. It's like, start in your backyard. Chances are you got kids and a job. Start in your backyard. If you can send money to Jungle Keepers, I can promise you that money is going to go directly to protecting the Amazon and we'll send you updates. But if you can't do that, start in your backyard. Don't buy products that harm the environment. Vote with your wallet and do something that helps native wildlife. And I always tell people, like, instead of having a cornfield, what about wildflowers? Like, it's like very simple stuff. If you look at the amount of life, like up in the Hudson Valley, my parents have some acres, and just the amount of bird life, the amount of foxes. I know where a coyote lives now, and I go hang out with him sometimes. He'll cross my driveway.
You hang out with a coyote.
I mean, like I can be in the same space.
What do you do? Like pull up and say, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?"
Usually it's checkers, dude. They love checkers.
They love what?
No.
Fuck you.
I bring a board game. No. No, but it's like if you can learn, you look at a piece of land. That's the other funny thing about back to animal intelligence, where you look at a stand of trees and you're like, it's some trees. You keep walking and like, oh shit.
Yeah.
There's like birds living all through there. There's trees that have been you see all the holes from the woodpeckers eating grubs out of them. And then it's like, this is where there's a fox den. It's like the forest is just filled with stuff. You just don't realize. It's so difficult for us to see this stuff. It takes scientists and people in hides with cameras, like, camera traps for months and months and months to find where these animals live.
But then you got to communicate it well, and that's what you do great.
It's what I try to do. It's what I spend all my time
You're doing a great job. Let's take a quick break. I think this is going to be the end of podcast 1. I want to come back, talk about your whole journey into the Amazon at the beginning when you were first going in with JJ and Emma, how you got connected, that whole story. I think that's really important to go through. And then I have a million other questions about some other things going on in the Amazon. So we will see you guys for the next episode. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe, hit that notification bell so you find out when the next one's coming out. Like this video as well, and we'll see you for round 2. Also, if you haven't seen Paul's previous episode with me from November 2022, that link is at the top of the description, so check that out. And finally, if you're not following me over on Instagram, you can get me on my personal page at Julian D. Dorey and on the podcast page for daily content at Julian Dorey Podcast.